Happy Thursday. Welcome back. Let me adjust the layout because all you see is Zach. What's going on here? We're getting so much. There we go. Technical difficulties everywhere. How we doing? Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. We've got an incredible guest with us today, and we're doing a giveaway live for a Bitcoin 2026 Pro Pass. All right.
Great
so
day.
I'm actually going to go ahead and drop the link in the description in the chat now so you guys can start to enter the giveaway.
Sweet.
And so that is now in the chat for me. So I don't know how well that's going to go. I might actually need to give this to you as well, Ben.
I'll add it to the description.
And then enter. You want to start basically entering this as fast as possible. I'll show you guys really quickly what you can do to enter the actual giveaway. You're going to click that link. You're going to have 6 different ways that you can enter. You can actually follow Memes and Markets on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Substack, and refer friends for even extra entries. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. But we got Zach Foust with us. Zach, how you doing today?
Great, brother. Great, brother. I loved your positive intro as well, dude. Life's great. Family's good. Got the garden ready to grow, baby, because food prices are going to go insane. Got some potatoes in the ground. Feeling productive.
What are you growing? Just potatoes?
So got potatoes in the ground. Got like 12 potato seeds in the ground. I just put carrots in the ground, 2 rows.
Love
I got
carrots.
6 rows of corn. We have a trellis arch of cucumbers getting grown, and I just put jalapenos in the ground. But got some
Nice.
tomatoes getting seeded up and some bell peppers getting seeded up inside. So
Wow.
certain ones got to start inside and certain got to start outside. I'm learning.
So awesome. I want to start doing that. I don't have the space because I live in an apartment, but eventually when I do have the space, I definitely want to start doing that. But Keith, where do you think we should start this one? There's so much to talk about.
We got to talk about why it is exactly that you feel the need to plant some seeds in the ground. Talk to us about the thought process there. What's that all about?
So second year of the garden, first year, honestly, it was a lot of just yard cleanup and we got a lot of space. And the original owners had a beautiful garden. They got really overrun. So it's been like a 3-year process, honestly, just getting it usable. This year, though, the motivation has purely been the cost of food. The cost of food, not only for our family, because, we're blessed, we're grateful, we're still going to fill up our gas tank regardless of price. We're still going to fill the grocery cart for the fam regardless of price, but there's a lot of people not in that scenario. So we have just under an acre of land, and I feel a need to create opportunity for people to be able to sustain themselves, not only just my family, but our community. Because what's going on in Iran is increasing the price of fertilizer, urea, ammonia, nitrogen-based manufacturing of fertilizer has gone up significantly. And unlike the stock market, has not recovered to pre-war levels. So these farmers right now in our hemisphere, in our country, are the ones on the bullseye, on the perfect part of the timeline to say, you're buying fertilizer right now. And that's a problem. It's a problem. Inflation isn't gone. Now back up to 3.3%. Food, fuel, it's going to be more expensive. So I want to get seeds in the ground so I'm not completely reliant on what corporations are putting on shelves. And I get to eat a little bit healthier too.
So can you also break down a little bit of how we got here, right? For someone who's because honestly, Zach, the interesting thing to me is when you go out into the real world and you kind of step around, a lot of people, they might know that there's some conflict going on in the Middle East, but I'll talk to my friends and I'm like, I'm kind of hanging out right now. I'm not doing anything too crazy with the travel. I'm like, there's this thing going on with the Strait of Hormuz. And they're like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, what does that have to do with anything? So what's going on in the world exactly, Zach?
Well, you mentioned travel. Jet fuel is one of the things that the European Union, America, and other countries, again, rely heavily on that strait. That strait is huge for 2 main items that get exported. Mainly, it's fuel and the creation of food, fertilizer. Between the fertilizer and the fuel, this increases the price of everything. Because when you talk about fuel, the easy thing for an American to think is, I'm paying more to put gas in my tank. And yes, that is true. But what's also true is the cost of importing and exporting goods. It's going on a ship. That costs money. Or it's going on a plane. That needs fuel. Then you have the manufacturing. And not just food. Every machine in every factory that manufactures anything from a car to a baby carriage is utilizing some form of mechanics that require fuel. And when the crude oil goes up, when that barrel of oil is going up, the cost of everything is going up. And the one thing I think people are a little bit more layman around this topic than they should be is that, oh, we have a war going on. I guess I'm just going to be paying a little bit more for fuel. But the problem is the long tail effect is what's really going to hit people. And I think that as a community here in America that did not have finance classes in high school, that were not required to go through any economics classes, that were not taught how to read markets or what affects what or supply and demand, have no clue what's about to happen. And it sucks because the cost of fertilizer going up is going to cause food prices to go up in an already depleted farming system in America where farmers are struggling to make ends meet, nevertheless profit. Coming into a year where things are going to be more expensive, there's no chance in any scenario right now that I can see where even if the Strait of Hormuz opened tomorrow, the toothpaste is out of the tube. Farmers are putting seeds in the ground now and the costs are higher. And the fact of the matter is this war is changing the global economy. It's changing how Iran is shipping fuel to places like China. It's changing the way the Bahamas gets their imports in and out of the strait. It's changing how ships are traveling. It's changing the amount of supply we have access to. It's going to change import-export ratios. It's changing already a lot. And as we mentioned before the podcast, the stock market doesn't seem to really care. But to the layman, to the normal everyday American, nothing about what's happening right now is going to benefit the middle class. War never has, but specifically where this war is positioned and where Iran is utilizing one of the cards they have in strangleholding the strait is huge. And I think a lot of the headlines and media are trying to downplay it a bit, where the reality is we're going to face higher prices. We're going to face inflation once again. And like we've said before, even the last time when I was on this podcast with you guys, we talked about 2026 money printing is probably on the table.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And also to give you a shout out, you're the first return guest to the show. So
Sick.
big shout out to you, man.
Sick.
And we had a lot of requests for you to come back. So we had to reach out and make it happen. But in all of this, man, I'm always thinking of the average person, and there's no one that I speak to that isn't thinking about the fact that they can't afford what they used to. And a lot of people can't afford basic things they need to survive. So like what is the breaking point? Because yes, we're all aware that prices are going to go up, but how do people buy things? Like, where do you see this ending? How does it reach a breaking point?
It's a great question. And something I think about a lot is because we kind of have these two groups of Americans, or at least investors and consumers within our country. Not all are from America, but the money flowing in and out is separated into two classes. And we've talked about before, probably anybody listening to y'all has already heard this many times. We are in a K-shaped economy. It's a bifurcated economy where we have the have-nots and the have-yachts. And the have-yachts crew isn't seeing any really negative impact to their lives. Because again, we're talking about food and fuel and grocery stores and common goods. Not really a huge issue for the wealthy. And the secondary thing that's benefiting the wealthy is the fact that the stock market's continuing to rip. And 90% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% income earners. But here's the thing. When's it going to crack? To me, it comes down to consumer spend. At what point is there not enough money coming out of the consumer's pockets going into businesses, and businesses begin to struggle, they begin to shut their doors, and we start to see banks start to get tight and possibly cracking like we saw in 2008 with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. I don't know when that happens or if it happens, frankly. And the scary part about it, dude, and I'll break down what I mean by this. The market not crashing is scarier than it crashing, right? The market not crashing is a lot scarier than it crashing, because when things crash, things typically, without government meddling too much into the finances or the Federal Reserve getting too involved in monetary policy, tends to reset things. And it tends to allow for opportunity to be made in the future for the have-nots. The issue is right now that it's 51% of all consumer spend is coming from the top 10% income earners. So if the top 10 income earners, top 10% income earners aren't seeing as much hardship from what's going on, and really much hardship since COVID, meanwhile, the rest of the population is indeed facing hardship since COVID, and especially because of this war. The debate is whether or not that top 10% can continue to hold up the economy.
I
And
don't
if,
think
and if they can, that's terrifying because
Yeah, it's
then it just
horrible.
never stops.
Because yeah, I mean, like the point that I don't get is that, and I see this all over the place, because in Canada, it's more so, it's not as related to the stock market. It's very much the housing market. If you had a house at the right time, you're fine. You're sitting pretty. And so the conversation here for the haves is basically like, do you have a home or do you not? And so when I talk to these people, they're so divided. They're like, oh, like it sucks, but they feel like they're sheltered because they're good. But how bad can it get before it's bad for everybody, right? Like there is a tipping point. We're seeing things happen where Keith highlighted a video where somebody lit a storage facility on fire over a lack of wages. Go ahead and explain, Keith.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is honestly continuing to ratchet up here. We've seen that big one in California, Ontario, California, where there was a 1.2 million square foot warehouse that was set on fire by a guy who was filming himself as he was doing it and saying,
Whoa.
um, "If you had just paid us enough to live, if you just paid us enough to live," and then he was like, you know, it might be a lot to pay us or something, but at least pay us enough not to do stuff like this, and lights a match and throws it on all of the stuff in the warehouse. And so that was one incident. We've seen randomly a bunch of warehouse fires across the United States. There was another one in Brooklyn. There was some other ones that were happening throughout places like Ohio and stuff like that. And I started to look at the data too, because I was like, okay, when we see things like this, Ben has really taught me to think like, why are we seeing these things and what really is going on here? So I looked at, okay, how many warehouse fires are there technically in the United States on a daily basis, right? And technically, there's 4 warehouse fires every single day in the United States on average.
Whoa.
But that doesn't necessarily equate to how many people who have set them on fire. Okay, so that is definitely a different scenario. And on top of that, we've also seen a lot of other incidents that have happened outside of that specifically. We saw Sam Altman have a Molotov cocktail thrown at his house. We've seen the next couple of days someone shooting at his house, okay, and getting arrested for that. Um, and other random things that have continued to happen. Another thing, this isn't directly related, but we just keep on seeing like explosions at different oil refineries around.
Oh,
One in the United States, one in Mexico, and then I think 2 in Mexico. That's happened with, once again, how often does that technically happen? It does happen. There are incidents that happen at these oil refineries, but I think, right, or at least where my mind went was, well, but this stuff is making it to our feed, right? It is, in a sense, maybe not being amplified, but it is being concentrated upon, right?
mhm.
And so my first thing is, okay, so if these things might typically be happening to some degree right now, for sure, we're seeing it ratchet up. We also saw a dude in Indiana, I think it was, who signed off on a data center as a councilman, and he also got shot at. It's just a lot of stuff happening where it's like clearly this uprising. Last thing I'll say on this is, so as soon as this warehouse caught on fire, the guy who actually did it, the Kimberly Clark warehouse in California, we saw these images of Smokey the Bear having his face replaced with Luigi Mangioni's face, and it's saying only livable wages can prevent warehouse fires. And that started circulating every single time there was a warehouse fire. Once again, whether or not it was actually set on fire by someone else, that was what people were posting. And we just see this rhetoric of like, yes,
Yeah.
the revolution is here.
Is this marketing to the people or to the haves? Like the have-nots or the haves, right? Because is it like you only have so many options, we have to redistribute the wealth in some way? Is this gearing everyone up to be okay for something crazy that they're about to pitch? That's what it feels like to me, right? And I've been saying that for a long time. Like you can only let people get so poor, and it really feels like we're pretty close to that point.
Well, that's crazy. Like that only good wages prevent warehouse fires is hilarious.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Only livable wages prevent warehouse fires. Sean, look at that. Can you pull it back up real quick so my boy Sean can see that? They
Yeah,
got
man.
Smokey the Bear with Luigi's face on it. I think that's the conversation going on amongst a lot of the tinfoil pattern recognizers is, are we seeing something organically that we can actually do to make our voices heard, that things can't go on the way they've been going on? Or is the muzzle velocity of information and the haphazardness of our administration and the leadership falling short and the greed perpetuating, is the civil unrest purposeful? Do they want civil war? Do they want people throwing Molotovs and want people shooting at congressmen so that they have a reason to implement more security and more policing and more deleting people off of TikTok and Instagram that speak out? Like, is there going to be more of that? And is that a part of the plan? That's logically, it makes sense. And the thing about it is, me and Sean were talking about earlier about how minorities often are stereotyped and mocked for crimes. And you see somebody like Sean was telling me, like there's a video on Facebook, black guy robbing a gas station, and then all the comments were like, yeah, oh yeah, seems typical, blah blah blah. It's like, have you ever looked at what actually causes crime? Poverty. Have you ever looked at what actually causes people to go out and make these decisions? It is for survival. And when you already know that metric, because we've seen it for decades unfold within minorities, well, now you just have to do the same thing to everybody. And now once everybody is feeling financially tight, yeah, now there's room to walk in and implement your security state with good reason. Because the have-yachts are going to be like, oh my God, we're scared. And then they're like, we got you. I think that absolutely could be a play. I don't know. What do you think?
There's so many options that it could be. Because we are definitely crypto focused, and I feel like it all comes back to money. I do feel like crypto plays a part in it, and it could be to like make us jump into a new system because anything is better than where we are right now, and so you got to max up the pain so that we voluntarily move into something different. Whether
Yes.
that will be better or worse, impossible to predict. But it does seem like they're well aware that there's nothing that you could do in the existing rules, and so you can't make new rules unless we all collectively create that reality. Right. So that's what it feels like to me. But I'd love to hear Keith's thoughts.
I mean, it's that's pretty much where I'm at. Always looking at that at least, right? Um, since I started seeing certain pieces of the digital asset infrastructure that was being built out back in 2020 for the bank from the Bank for International Settlements, um, it's kind of just been sitting back and waiting for what would be the actual reason that this stuff would be implemented, which in 2020, it felt like, oh, this is the moment, right? Where something is about to happen. We saw in the United States, one of the Congress people submitting legislation around Fed accounts and digital dollars and everyone. What? What person in Congress has any idea about all of that idea of a Fed account and things like that? It's just about to be implemented here where you use it to distribute stimulus. So, there's a surveillance side, there's a stimulus side, and there's a ton of news happening right now that all points in this direction, guys. So
Right.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah. It also feels like we've talked about this a lot, like how cryptos, if you were a marketer and you were marketing people using a different form of money, it's been executed like incredibly well, right? From Bitcoin with the early adopters and the movement behind the cyberpunks, like that was the only people you could possibly get would have to be attracted like that, right? And then the price becomes the marketing mechanism. And then the cycles that go through, what do? They bring in a little bit of people every single time so that when they get laughed at for a little bit, they go through enough like trauma where when it comes back, now they have amazing stories to tell. And so if crypto were to come raging back, like think about how many more people, Keith, are now like would be pretty comfortable from this, right? Like, it completely changes the whole marketing mechanism of how that message spreads. And something I say here all the time, Zach, where I loved how you said the tinfoil hat. How did you exactly phrase
Pattern
it?
recognizers.
Pattern recognizer. Yes, that's brilliant. I'll definitely steal that. Is I feel like a lot of people that are there are like one rabbit hole away from crypto. Like I feel like a lot of people are about to start talking about this stuff. And I think that was deliberate, where you had to put people through enough trauma to break down a belief that they previously would have never considered, right? Like a lot of people who had a decision on crypto or Bitcoin, whatever, pick your stuff, they were like instantly scam. It's like, okay, was that a manufactured reality that they wanted you to think until they were ready for you to not? Right? Because a lot of these people, I've talked to my grandparents and stuff, and they would never have listened to me on any of this stuff. But the world is messed up enough now where they're actually being like, Ben, can I hear a little bit more? I've been saying the same shit for like 10 years, and they were like, they wanted none of it. But now they've had enough stuff where they're like, maybe this is an option. So yeah, it seems like there's a lot of that.
The crypto side, I think there's only two sides to that coin. It either rug pulls or it rips. There's really only two sides to it. It either goes full implementation. Bitcoin is the backing of this new blockchain reality that's surrounded by stable coins and CBDCs, or the government just creates its own variation of it and it goes to zero. So I still am in a kind of a limbo status with crypto. Own and invest in some, mostly Bitcoin, Ethereum, no fart coins. But like XRP, for example, held up a lot by just its own group of people that rock with it. No true intrinsic unique value proposition other than that. Because
you're pissing people off with that one.
I understand. I get it. But to be frank with you, stable coins already kind of solve the problem XRP wants to solve in a lot of ways, at least if it got implemented. But I think you're spot on. And besides, like, because when we were talking about earlier, like, is this a plan so they can implement like security state? That gets more conspiratorial. But the fact of the matter is, economically speaking, we have a lot of patterns to show that you cause chaos, you make a change. You cause chaos, you make a change. After World War II, after World War I, out of the Great Depression, we changed the valuation of gold and removed the Citizens Gold Standard. 1944, world's in chaos. We bring in Bretton Woods. We attach dollar to everything around the world. 1971, we're coming out of the terrible 60s, and that leads us to the fact that we're running out of gold. Nixon relieves us of that. Nobody likes it, but it was the right move because of the chaos. Then you get in the Reaganomics. How did he get the chance to remove all of these parameters and guidelines around companies and corporations and remove unions and restructure the tax brackets? Well, we're going through stagflation in the late 70s. Everyone was struggling, savings and loan crisis. Then you get into even more recent, like 2001. What caused the Patriot Act? 9/11. What caused Citizens United? The great financial crisis. You know, when we see chaos, they see the opportunity for control. Because when we see problems and they bring their solution, we're like, yes, please bring us a solution. This will help. And if you get to the point where people are struggling so immensely to pay for anything, and now you bring in things like corporate towns and freedom cities. Oh, you can't afford a house? Come to our Amazon town. We got a beautiful house for you. You just got to work for us. You know, when you start to get into the world where, oh, you can't afford a car. What if we created a subscription model for it? If you can't pay, you just got to bring the car back. But here's your subscription model for your car. What happens when we get into this rent and be happy economy that the World Economic Forum wants by 2030? Again, the patterns line up just like y'all are saying. It lines up for a world where the entire economy is going to change, and blockchain is inevitable. Tokenization is inevitable. It's just a matter of when and how. And to be honest with you, if you're going to completely rip out the way that we've done currency and the way we've done the economy for as long as anybody or any of our living relatives can remember, it's going to require some chaos in order to sell that.
You would need absolute anarchy. You need people begging for it.
Right. And people throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff like that.
Totally. You could not make this happen any other way unless it was people's idea.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Looks like you're chewing on something.
Well, Zach, you're throwing shots out there today.
I love it.
Who's the white monster I had before this?
Let's go. That'll do you. That'll do you.
That'll do it.
The Bitcoin shot, the XRP shot, man. You're asking for some.
And Bitcoin. Today. Listen, Bitcoin is, of all the currencies, makes the most sense to me because we have this cryptic, weird. Was it Sataki? What's his name?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi. This mystical man creates this unhackable coded cryptocurrency in a time where no one really knew what it was. It gets this really, really, really slow adaptation to the point where now we're by 2018, 2019, it's being kind of taken seriously. And now since about 2020, we've seen big companies like Cantor Fitzgerald and like BlackRock and others now start to get in the game. It makes sense to me because at this point, it's not, it's too big. The market cap is too big to be easily manipulated. It's not like a fart coin or a Trump meme coin where you can do a complete rug pull, or a Hawk Tua coin where you can do a complete rip out of the carpet. It's not like if we started a crypto now. If we start a crypto now, it's completely manipulatable. But that existed prior, quote unquote, to leave room for some of my tinfoil hatters. It started too early for that to have been the case, and was implemented too late for that to be the case. That's the one where I'm like, I can get that. There's a finite amount, there's only a certain amount of mining you can do for it. It makes sense. It's just a matter of whether or not our country says, yeah, that does make sense. We're going to do this. Which, again, I don't know. I've had things that I thought were going to happen that made logical sense, from 2019 on through about 2024, and consistently saw those things that made sense not happen. So I don't know. It makes complete logical sense, Bitcoin and a lot of crypto, and we will be on some form of blockchain and tokenization. There's no doubt about that. And it's going to happen a lot quicker than I think a lot of people realize. But it's just a matter of what's going to be the main weapon, what's going to be the base pool of currency that we hold to create that valuation structure. Will it be a pool of Bitcoin? Will it be a pool of Trump coin? Will it be a pool of poo-poo coin? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and in that, there will be a lot of misdirection too. So even Twitter is now adding in features that are priming people to do this. Like
What's Twitter? I'm only familiar with X.
Ooh,
so I only
really?
call it Twitter.
Oh,
It's a dumb thing, but it's what I
It
do. So with Twitter, that's really where the crypto movement was created and fostered, and we've really been suppressed there to a decent degree, or at least people
really?
have gone away. Pardon?
I said, really?
Well, again, people, it's a cause and effect thing. So a lot of people in crypto Twitter, they say, "Oh, we're not getting any exposure," but also there's nobody here to consume it. So I do think it's a bit of both. Like suppression may be taking place, but also people aren't here unless the money's going up, and
Yeah.
so they're giving more features for that to happen. Like, what's that latest one, Keith, that they just rolled out?
Well, I mean, I just saw them like making it to where if you're going to talk about crypto, then you're going to have to like potentially verify or something like that, or something like that. If you weren't talking about crypto before, you start talking about crypto, then they'll like basically make you wait some time or make you verify yourself or something like that. That's the only thing that I really saw.
And then there was the cash tags or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. I don't even know
Okay,
the
that makes a
pure
lot of
their
sense.
pure utility. But now, if you are talking about it, I believe they built in an integration where you can more easily see the price of it as you're
Yes.
talking about it. So that kind of makes it a lot more like social pressure to talk about it if you have that, because the incentivization there is if this pops off and you're talking about this, then everyone now sees that. And if the price goes up, that creates FOMO to jump in. Do you know what I'm saying? So please, people, correct me wherever I'm wrong in the chat. But they're doing more and more of these kinds of features that makes me feel like they're getting people primed to come back. I think a lot of people that are outside of crypto that just see the whole thing as a scam, I totally get why you would think that, but I also think that you're really underestimating how quickly people will come back if they feel there is money to be made.
Sure.
Right. And that can spread like this. There are more creators than we've ever had before, and people are broke. So if you're telling me that someone has a chance to turn 50 and do even a few hundred, and a few of their buddies have done it, they'll all be back.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you guys feel that, question for you guys? I know a lot of my conservative buddies who are also investors are just so pumped about Trump leading into his inauguration, about all of the pro crypto, all
Yeah.
of the, the Genius Act and the, what was it, 20222 or something like that. That was big for XRP. Do you think that a lot of the people that were initially hyped and pumped up have kind of lost their lust for it? Have kind of seen that, okay, we've seen a year and a half now of no real movement. In fact, it's been pretty negative movement since then. Do you think that has to do with it too?
It's definitely crippled people's will. Like they definitely are a lot less motivated. People are really
Lightly,
pissed.
it's crippled people's will.
Yeah. It definitely has. Like people,
Slightly.
they definitely don't have the same piss and vinegar that they used to have, but that can come back really, really quickly. And the same, like people, I love studying this stuff because once you sit around for a few cycles and you follow these people, it's so funny to watch the human experience of the hyperbole all across the board. But yeah, Trump definitely did screw with us. Like for sure, a lot of people thought that it'd be great, and a lot of things have not been great. There's also been a ton of extraction there as well. But Keith, would love to hear your thoughts on the the Trump crypto?
Yeah, my video tomorrow is going to be diving deep into this, because the timeline, right, was literally Trump saying before he was even elected on the campaign trail, we're going to make crypto capital of the world, and then these little sly comments about wiping out the debt with a little crypto check, right? And here we are now with the Federal Reserve Chairman nominee, Kevin Warsh, having a disclosure of 30 plus Bitcoin projects in his portfolio. And I also saw today that dude's also just worth like $100 million
You said Kevin
plus.
Warsh?
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Uh,
so interesting to me. Do you guys know
he
the
is.
history of Kevin Warsh?
You know way more than I do about him. You go in.
Tell us.
Well, I just didn't know. Do you guys know anything like kind of like hairy or in the gray zone about him?
I'm starting to remember that there was something that did come up, but I think it might have been even if you were talking about it, then I was watching you.
Yeah, I've seen you make some videos on him, so that's my only knowledge.
Yeah, the biggest the biggest two are his wife and the Epstein list. So Kevin Warsh is in the Epstein files. He attended a 2010 Christmas party at St. Bar's hosted by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he was in a couple with his wife. So there's argument that the only reason that they were invited was because of his wife and not because of him. Okay, I'll take that. But then let's say, well, okay, well, why was his wife invited? Well, the reason his wife was invited is because his wife is the daughter of Ron Lauder. Ron Lauder owns Estee Lauder, and Ron Lauder and Estee Lauder are littered in the Epstein files, thousands of references to both the Lauder Foundation, Ron Lauder himself, and even Epstein linking people up in the Middle East with Ron Lauder. He's a very connected individual to those high elite circles, and he's also the reason we're going to Greenland. Ron Lauder is. He's the one that put that in Trump's ear and started investing in Greenland Water Bank before we started talking about this. He created an LLC actually in May of last year in Delaware called Greenland Development Partners, off of the knowledge that we were indeed going to go after Greenland. And I made a video about 3 weeks ago. I said, hey, with this Iran thing going on, do not forget, next step is Greenland and Cuba. Next step's Greenland and Cuba. Don't forget about that, because they're just, they do this like rotation of the news cycle, it seems like, where Greenland was a topic matter from like January to February, and then it dies off. You don't hear about it much. Then all of a sudden September hits, it starts moving a little bit more. November, we need Greenland. December, we're literally fighting with the European Union into January about how we can do it. Now Iran comes up. Don't think Greenland's gone away. And Ron Lauder is right behind that. And now his son-in-law is going to be put in charge of having the free reins to our central bank. I have questions. I have questions.
Very, very interesting breakdown there. I do remember seeing that stuff. I'm pretty sure it was from you, about his wife. And
Also, sorry to whoever said that about XRP. I own 30 grand in XRP, by the way. I bought at 37 cents when my boy said to, and I did. And I'm holding it. I still hold it. I don't know how much I originally invested. What would that be, like 5 grand, 4 grand? It's become a larger part of my portfolio, but only because of the growth. I just don't see the utility. I really don't.
yeah,
With it.
there were some comments that were made earlier around that conversation of like, oh, well, all of this could be a scam, right? And so I'm just going to double tap on that real quick and then I'll come back. But as we talk about all the time, so was the current system. Right?
100%. Great point. Great point. It's all monopoly money. Great point.
So it all comes down to like, is there a more technologically advanced way to administer that?
Yes. Oh, 100%. That's also, to double down on the point, like so many people that talk about these rabbit holes and break down them, they get to money, and then I'm always fascinated how that doesn't lead to a deeper dive of crypto. Like, I'm like, what is it? Is there some sort of mental block where they don't want to look into how the technology functions? Like, how good was the propaganda that they didn't look into like what the technology is? That's always where I get so fascinated. And I think that all it takes is someone like Candace talking about this, going in depth, explaining it, and then instantly it's over.
Yeah. But yeah, so in on the same lines, Kevin Warsh has very openly, publicly made comments about Bitcoin as well.
Yeah.
The thing that I remembered the most that stood out to me was like he said, Bitcoin is essentially a measure of Fed policy. right? Because the more that's being printed, right, without reason, the more you're going to see liquidity flow into things like Bitcoin or any other risky assets you see when people take larger risks.
Mhm.
And so he said this is kind of like the break, right, or the signal that a Fed could use as a way to figure out what's actually going on. Is the economy too high? Is it too soft? Things like that. So he's also very much so a Bitcoin holder, Bitcoin proponent, fully understands the premise of the idea, and potentially about to get confirmed here to be the Fed chairman, which that's definitely a first. A pro Bitcoin, pro crypto Fed chairman. Also, another thing that's just continuing to come up, we're getting closer and closer to the 250th anniversary of the United States. And
I keep
a lot of
forgetting
people have
about
been
that.
speculating that something big is going to happen with that. Zach, have you heard anything about that at all?
Not really, other than from Ray Dalio, who consistently talks about the fact that the modern empires usually only last about 250 years max. Only like that fourth turnings type thing. I think that, again, I think tokenization happens. I think that's past debate. The tokenization is happening. We've created the crypto pool. We've created the infrastructure. I'm not firm. I'm sure you guys know more about it, but like the actual infrastructure needed in the financial systems to incorporate that and actually have a tokenized economy, because that's a whole different way of operating. These banks and everybody needs to adapt. Um, you have the acts that were passed in 2025 that are pro crypto and help that as well. You got a pro crypto Fed chairman stepping in. You got a pro crypto administration. I mean, you can look at just like, for example, PayPal. That was like the first kind of dip into off grid finance, um, where the creators of PayPal, Elon Musk, okay, Peter Thiel, okay, David Sachs, he's the crypto czar right now for the administration. Dave Andreessen, the minister owner of A16Z, huge investment firm, also assisting in that cabinet. And then you have Ken Howry, which I find Ken Howry, to loop back to the Ron Lauder thing, extremely interesting. Do you guys know the name Ken Howry?
I don't.
Kenneth Howry, right? So when I was looking into why did Ron Lauder get this LLC for Greenland it was late April or early May. I think it was actually late April. I think it was April 22nd. And anybody can go onto the Delaware LLC lookup website and type in Greenland Development Partners. You will find it. Occasionally when I click on it, though, it'll say this page is unavailable. And then I got to click it like 7 times before it actually opens. But you can absolutely find it. Why did he not start investing into Greenland until November? I found that really interesting. You know your president's in place. That's your boy. You guys literally went to school together. I think it was not Wharton. That was where Epstein taught. I forget the school. They both went to the same school. You get this LLC in April 2025, and you don't start investing into Greenland itself until November 2025. Well, Kenneth Howry seems to be the lone reason why. Because Kenneth Howry was originally appointed by Trump in February 2025 to be the ambassador to Denmark. He was then officially actually brought into his position by the Congress, because they have to basically say, okay, yeah, this guy's good to go, like they do with any cabinet member. He gets officially into his position end of October. And then within weeks, Ron Lauder starts investing in Greenland. And then weeks after that, we start talking about we're going to go after Greenland. Why do I think that's really convenient? Because who runs the country of Greenland? Who takes care of their economics? Who takes care of their security efforts? Who's basically the sovereign country making sure Greenland operates? Denmark. So now we have Kenneth Howry in his position as the ambassador to Denmark. And Kenneth Howry, along with Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, also one of the founders of PayPal. So when you say things like follow the money, yeah, something's happening here. Something's absolutely happening here. But here's the counter to my own argument of it could go to zero. The counter argument is they all understand this is where we're going. They all understand this is the direction that we're headed. And they want to get rich off of it skyrocketing. Just like owning a house, just like having an IRA, when the big elites are trying to get rich, there's an opportunity to get rich too. You just got to own the same assets they own. You got to be in the same asset classes they're in. And if they're trying to get in on crypto and create a system where crypto and tokenization runs the world and it's surrounded by Bitcoin, of course they're going to start getting in on early and gather together in the cabinet. That's a very crypto-friendly administration, very now crypto-friendly Federal Reserve soon to be. Makes complete sense that they're orchestrating it from within, and the same people who created like really the first off-grid monetary company or currency company, at least currency transfer, is in on it. So when you follow the money, you follow a bunch of greedy people who make money off of creating new financial systems. Makes a lot of sense to me. Could skyrocket, could go volcanic.
Yeah. There's that famous video. I actually only knew about this because I was at a Bitcoin conference in Miami 2022 or something, 2023. Peter Thiel was speaking there. And before he went on stage, there was this
King Lizard.
there was this video that played. The whole thing was like this 1990s something. Like he's talking about PayPal, but he's talking about it in a way that sounds like Bitcoin. And it really, I think this might have even been, I don't know, but it was definitely before Bitcoin had ever even technically been thought of. But that's exactly how he was describing it, right? The system outside of the traditional system as a way to transfer money. And so I'd actually had never heard of Kenneth Howry at all, but I do see, yeah, he's co-founder of PayPal, co-founder of the Founders Fund, and the ambassador to Denmark. So very, very good work there.
And the Founders Fund is also Peter Thiel.
Right, correct. So
and they're using that Founders Fund also to fund these off-grid cities.
Yes.
They're using it, they're funneling it through another fund called Pronomos Capital, which was created by the grandson of economist Milton Friedman. And he has this just wet dream of seasteading, which is, you guys ever played BioShock?
Yes, very briefly, but I have played before.
It's BioShock. It's a city in the ocean that doesn't have to adhere to international law. And they've actually already built a few of these. One, the most popular one being Prospera in Honduras.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
And another thing about this administration, so you know who allowed for the legislation for them to create this, what they call a ZED, a ZEDE, a Zone for Economic Development and Employment. Do you know who created the framework for the ZED? It was their president, Juan Orlando Hernandez. And Juan Orlando Hernandez was arrested in 2021. Now his follow-up leader, the person who replaced him, I can't remember her name. She came in and said, no, Zeeds, this is terrible. I hate this. This is awful. This is only favors the wealthy. It doesn't favor our country at all. Why should we have a section of our country where there's literally a 1% tax, no FDA regulation, and they don't adhere to international, or they don't adhere to our country's laws? Why should we have that off this little island of Roatan? So they said no, but they're fighting it. The big billionaires have sued Honduras for 1/3 of their entire GDP. And Juan Orlando Hernandez, once Trump walks in, guess who in December got pardoned? Juan Orlando Hernandez. Because we arrested him in 2021. Now he's free to go. So all these people that are involved, it makes sense that this is some kind of system that they're growing and that they're allowing for the infrastructure to be created to test out these economic systems in these so-called freedom cities. And Trump has already said, I want to bring 11 freedom cities to America by the end of his term. What is that?
It's a wild name, Freedom City.
Dude, it's just like when we say what we just said earlier, like the more patriotic the name of the legislation sounds, the worse it is. Make America great again. You know whose slogan that was first?
Is it Reagan?
Ronald Reagan. Did he make America great again when we look back at his economic policy? Not really. When we look at things like the Patriot Act, the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, that's crazy name.
Citizens United.
They're like tweets.
Yeah, the more the patriotism is instilled in your soul when you read the title, the more freedom it's ripping from you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you hear freedom cities, it's really on the nose for corporate control.
Man, I love how much you know about all the stuff. We can talk about literally everything, which is so awesome.
Not literally everything. It's just got to be gazed in corruption.
Well, that seems like pretty much everything, man. But
like more than everything at this point. That's
but
so
the one thing I did want to say is that we topic of AI, right? That's another thing too that seems perfectly timed for all of this. And Keith, you mentioned the ramp up of the hostility towards the AI people. Across your content, Zach, like how much do you touch on or dive into the people involved deeply with AI?
A bit. The main players, again, we bring up Peter Thiel. You got Alex Karp. Those are the Palantir crew. You got Sam Altman over at OpenAI. And now you have the drama with Anthropic. Anthropic actually called a meeting with Scott Bessent and the heads of the big tech companies to say, we just created a model that can deep dive your entire system, find any single flaw in it security-wise, and know by morning. We don't think we should release this. We think it's too powerful. And they they privately allow those big tech companies to use it on their own systems to prove how good it is. So we basically gave it to them. That kind of sucks. But the fact that we're already at a point where an AI company is like, hey, I think this is too much, and it's 2026, I can't imagine what 2030 looks like, to be honest with you.
It's so fascinating because there's so many angles even there, right? Like, are they doing that because it's truthful, or is that marketing push to make all the money stuff that makes no sense make a little bit more sense? There's so much misdirection, and
The
it's
money
crazy.
side makes no sense. I was talking with someone about this the other day, and the money side makes no sense. AI is
Zero.
not a profitable business yet. It's receiving the most money in forms of investment than any other entity ever in the history of America. Even if you base it off inflation data, still the most investment we've ever received of a model that is not profitable. And the only way we get to profit is via creation of an insane amount of data centers with technology that's relevant today. But I don't know about y'all. I built my PC. I've built 4. I'm a nerd. The GPUs outdate themselves in 2 years. So we're spending all this money on data and technology that's probably going to be irrelevant in 4 years. And also 50%, I don't know if you guys saw this, 50% of all data center plans have been delayed or canceled. So where's the profit going to ever come? I don't see it. I don't see the numbers. I'm not in the rooms to make it happen, but I truthfully don't see where we reach the point of those investments coming back unless AI just absolutely hockey sticks. But we would need the infrastructure for that. We don't have the power grid set up. Delaware is a good example. We have a company named PJM, that runs the power grids for Delaware, PA, New York. I think it goes all the way to Ohio. It's one of the biggest ones. And they oversee Delmarva Power here in Delaware. And all of our bills have been they've doubled in the last 2 years. And a lot of Delawareans are like, what the hell? Well, I got to talk with our governor, Governor Meyer, about this. And he's fully aware, but there's nothing he can do because it's outside of Delaware. It's almost like when you talk about transnational capital, like BlackRock, they have ownership in companies across 36 different countries that we know of. So who can really hold them accountable when you're involved in 36 different countries? And by the way, you're also involved in infrastructural items that are transnational. For example, the Panama Canal ports. That's a transnational asset that you really can't hold them accountable to anything for because it's used by multiple countries. In this case, we have multiple states. So our state really can't do anything about it. And within their contracts, they already have contracts with Google and Meta and Amazon to build data centers. And guess where they're bringing them? New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So there's nothing our local legislation can do to stop it except yell about it loud enough for people to turn down the building of those. And we actually did see that happen last month with Project Washington. It was set to be built in Delaware City, Delaware, really on the nose. It's actually one of our worst cities, but Delaware City, Delaware. Who was it? It was our Department of Natural Resources came out and said, no, can't do this. And people went crazy. They were like, yes, this is awesome. But the problem is there's already 10 others that are scheduled too. So it's of no benefit to the middle class. Once again, it's just going to use up the power grid. It's using up water. Maybe we come up with technology that makes it use less water. Maybe we come up with technology that means it needs less GPUs. But the data centers in themselves, data centers pay for themselves. No, they do not. No, they do not. To that commenter, sorry. No, they do not. A data center would pay for itself. Infrastructure would pay for itself if it supplied the labor market and the liquidity to an area that surpassed what it was spending. For example, the one going in Newark, Delaware, is going to be over 1.1 million square feet. It's 11 buildings. It's going to supply 80 jobs. 80. So it's not supplying any jobs. And the infrastructure that it's going to require from our power grid is about 1.2 gigawatts, which I can't even conceptualize. But to put it in perspective, Delaware currently operates its entire state's grid on 1.1 million gigawatts or 1.1 gigawatts. So just those power data centers, 3 of them, I think it is, 3 data centers will require more power than our entire state. That does not go back into our economy in any one way, shape, or form. And at the end of the day, too, again, that's not even a Delaware data center. It is a data center owned by a private entity. So no, it does not come back into our economy. The only way private entities bring value back to the middle class economy is by providing labor. And it's not providing labor, nor is it bleeding any of its extra money back into the state. It's going back to a private entity. So I would push back on that heavy. The data centers pay for themselves. I don't believe they do. And they're also the infrastructure for a system that we just talked about. We haven't seen a provable profit model yet.
I'm just thinking about the space that takes up.
A lot of space. Now, the devil's advocate on that one is the space it's going in. It's just like fields right now. It's nothing. It's nothing crazy. It's not like we're taking up an insane amount of livable land.
No, yeah, and not even from that perspective, just the idea of a 1 million square foot facility that's just computers.
Yeah.
Like that's a really crazy thought, you know? Like like normally a warehouse of that size is being used to take physical things from one place to another. For instance, the Kimberly Clark warehouse,
Yeah.
toilet paper
Like an
everywhere.
Amazon warehouse or something like that.
Yeah, like Amazon. But like this is not doing any of that. It's gonna stay there. It's just computers running all day. What a weird like that's a very sci-fi sounding kind of a
Totally.
concept
Very
to me.
black magic or black mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, try
Yeah.
to explain that to previous generations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to a data center with a Victorian's child and watch their brain.
I think about this a lot too, that like let's say there was like a mass extinction event and people came back and like saw our world. It'd be so hard to decipher what the hell we were doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so all over the place.
Yeah. Real
The thing,
quick.
the
Go ahead,
thing,
go ahead.
so the one last thing, GPUs require for the actual creation of, it's actually in every electronic device. I can't remember the actual name of it, but the required gas to be able to make it is helium. Guess where we get helium from? The Strait of Hormuz.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yet another issue that comes out of the war to our economy.
Yeah, and that piece, the thing that makes it unique as well is technically fertilizer has a similar problem. Um, there's not like a storage piece of that,
Mhm.
right? Like you don't really get to store helium.
You
And so
can't.
there's no like helium
Yeah, you literally
reserves.
actually can't control it. Like they have to utilize it within a certain amount of months. There's zero way to store it. If you put it in a tank, it's going to leak out because it has this. It wants to push up.
Mhm.
Just like if you had a balloon at the top of your roof, it's going to be on the ground in a week or two.
Right. Right. Real quick for people who are coming in, we are actually doing a giveaway for a pro pass to Bitcoin 2026. You're seeing that link go into the chat. So if you have any idea of whether or not you'd like to go to Bitcoin 2026, sign up for this. There's a few different ways that you can enter. If you invite your friends, you get extra entries. So go ahead and click the link in the chat or in the description to sign up for that giveaway.
I got an article from Innovation News. It says helium is an essential, non-substitutable, and increasingly scarce material in semiconductor manufacturing, with the chip industry accounting for about 24% of the global consumption of helium.
Wow.
So big deal for those data centers.
And the other piece too is like, we'll see how everything continues to shape up, but there's been energy infrastructure that's been damaged in the Middle East,
Mhm.
right? Like stuff that, for instance, Qatar has said themselves that it might take them 5 years to get back up to the same capacity that they were at before. And if you're talking about, significant portions of the world's helium supply coming out of there, and you're telling me that it might take 5 years for a facility that's been bombed to be able to get back up to date to where they were, what does that mean for the future of the prices of GPUs and just the supply chain of the entire industry. Does that mean that there's a significant piece of that that could come offline? And that's also assuming that none of this continues to ramp up and that we're done from here to some degree, at least with the actual, explosives flying around. But yeah, that's another piece of this thing that is super interesting to me. It's like we haven't seen, at least in the states, we've seen gas prices go up, but more probably as a reactionary thing to the futures markets, right? Basically going up, and like some of the spot price of oil going up. But um, there's two major things that I think aren't being considered enough. One of them is the time that it actually takes for the ships to get to their destination. Okay, it could take over a month. Second thing, which means once the strait is opened, it still takes another month, right, for the supply to get to where it needs to go.
Sure.
And then the second thing is that there's infrastructure that's just been damaged that won't come back online. So, anyways, um,
And to that point, I think the 5 years is touted for the electric plants, the electricity plants. I think they said the salination plants for like water and that's local. It actually doesn't get exported to my knowledge, is about 2 years. I don't know about helium. I don't
well,
know.
it was the natural gas. It was the natural gas facility
Natural
that
gas
said that
facilities as
about,
well.
and that's where the helium comes from, is the natural gas.
Got it. Okay, got
Yes.
it. So the natural gas facility is the one exporting it. Got it. Okay, so 5 years. Geez. And
Yeah.
how many of those have been hit?
Well, the biggest one was hit, the South Pars field, which is apparently shared by both Qatar and Iran to some degree. And so there's like a south piece and then a northern piece, and the south piece I think was the one that got hit. And this is like the largest natural gas deposit in the world, actually, that was hit. Now I don't know if that's the one that they're saying is going to take 5 years to get back online, but just in general, right? Like that's the stakes of kind of what's happening, is like the largest facilities in the world are getting attacked during this conflict here. But another thing that I wanted to touch on was something that you talked about a little bit earlier, which is what the EU is doing, right? So back to this idea of creating solutions to problems, right? The problem of uh, billionaires getting attacked, the problem of um, safety for the billionaire class. One of the things that the EU has started to actually do, I think this was like overnight here. Um, Ursula, the European Commission leader, president of the European Union Commission, has announced their European age verification app. Okay. We had Preston Byron here comment saying, parents should raise their children, not apps, which is quoted from Ursula herself, releases an app. Right. So that's one piece. But then the other thing is that in the United States, this was a new law that was been introduced over the past couple of days here to require all operating systems to have mandatory age verification. House Resolution 8250 to require operating system providers to verify the age of any user of an operating system and for other purposes. This was a federal bill introduced by Representative Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey, and is co-sponsored by Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York. The full text of the bill has not been made publicly available yet, but is expected shortly. So here we are, right? Starting to potentially use age verification to be able to use any device, right? At least just the idea being
baby
floated.
step to digital ID.
Say that again.
That's a baby step to digital ID.
Oh, well, that's pretty much the most intense step that you could make.
Right.
If you're saying that you can't use a device without verifying your age, oh man, it's a wrap. Everyone's got a device.
And they're going to get the updated driver's license or birth certificate for every single one of them.
No doubt about it, man.
The digital ID thing is the thing that can make all the sense in the world and also be the scariest thing in the world. To track and keep proper information and keep tabs and utilize that data for the betterment of our country and the betterment of its people. I think there's room for that, but man, the type of social credit score-esque theories really start feeling real when you're talking about stuff like that.
No doubt about it. It sucks that this is actually happening. I think.
They're creating such compelling arguments, right? Because especially in Canada, like with the recent election stuff that just happened. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, Zach, but basically our current prime minister now, he got, for the first time ever this has happened, he got to a majority government here in Canada from floor crossers. So in Canada, you can just like switch teams. And so that happened, and they did get like 2 that they won fairly, but they also I think got 5 floor crossers, which then gave them a majority. And a lot of the stuff that they're pushing is a lot in the same sort of track as Europe with the digital IDs, age verification. We'll be right behind Canada, the EU, and now even faster because he's got a majority. So I'll be on the front lines of this stuff.
I recently listened to an interview with the guy that lost. It's the
Pierre.
Pierre. That I really rocked with a lot of what he was talking about. Like I've never watched him campaign or know what all of his takes are, but from the takes I heard, I was like, how'd this guy lose?
Because he didn't do that at the time, which also either he was getting horrible counseling or consulting, like the worst ever, that person should be fired 100 times over, or they didn't let him. Like I don't know. But if he had done this stuff before the election, he probably would have won, because the Carney stuff was just so convenient. I'm hard pressed to believe that it wasn't coordinated by a lot of people far above my pay grade, where Trudeau like does horrible things for this country for a very long time. Like even the liberal supporters got to a point where they hated him, and our country's like uber liberal. So for them to say that, it's saying like, wow, you really messed things up here. And they got to a point where they had a horrendous approval rating. And then 2 or 3 months before the election, they needed a new candidate because I believe Pierre or what the hell's his name? Justin Trudeau stepped down. And then they basically hoisted in Carney, like he was selected basically to go in. And then he won the entire thing because Trump basically made this whole 51st state thing. And that's all of their marketing was Carney's the guy to fight Trump. Carney's the guy to take down Trump. And then now he's the prime minister and now he has a majority. So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
So it's our fault. My bad, bro.
It's definitely not your fault, but it does seem like what I always found so interesting is that people in Canada, they really, really dislike Trump. And then in turn, they also dislike Americans because they associate you guys with Trump. But we elected a candidate that is pretty close to Trump's level of like society too, right? So that's what I found very interesting and incredibly contradictory. And also with the stuff that Carney is now doing, if that stuff was being done by Trump, it would be in the headlines every single day. It'd be no kings. It'd be all this stuff. And I'm like, how do you not have the ability to separate your emotions here and look at it and be like, look at the man's actions. Do you align with this on a philosophical level? If they thought about it for 5 seconds, they'd say no. But because they're so brainwashed in this stuff, like, this is good. This is good. It's like, if you swapped the name, you'd be screaming the other way. Like, how does that not register?
You guys are just too relaxed. You guys are too nice.
We're not anymore. We are not, dude.
The
like
French
ever since
niceness has left the building.
Ever since Trump came in, we are no longer nice. I will say that. Unless you agree with like that you hate Trump, then people will be nice to you. But yeah. How does Canadian feel about the king? Is that king as in Trump?
Maybe King Charles, because technically you're part of the Commonwealth to some degree, correct?
Yeah, we are.
You guys are technically a subsidiary to the crown.
That's what I find so funny. People are like, oh, we would never become the 51st state. I'm like, bro, we're barely independent now. I think people, they really know how to speak to us because the state has been very involved in our media for a very long time. So, and it always is the case. That's the case in most countries for sure, but ours is a different level of that. And there's been such a long period of time where it's been one party. So even the people in these positions, like they're all pretty well aligned with that. So when they cheer for the politics in what's supposed to be bipartisan media, the broadcasts are like the home sports team. It's crazy. It's like this. How do people not have a problem with this? But because enough people agree with them, of course you're happy when someone cheers on your home team, right? So it's just it's a wild thing to watch as someone who understands media, because I made a few posts, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago when they started to enact these laws that are now coming to be. And I just got ripped apart from people who didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Zach, I'm super curious as to have you done any research on that concept of the Commonwealth and how the king in the United Kingdom is technically, like they have all of these crown dependencies, right? That are just all of these different nations that were once legitimately under the actual reign of
Mhm.
the King of England, but now it's like this really weird informal kind of like recognition of the king.
Well, not for Canada, but I'll throw another one at you.
Mhm.
I think America is British. I don't think we ever actually exited being ruled by Britain. I mean, if
Is
you
that because the bank?
well, we had about 28 years. There was a 28-year gap between the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, both against Britain. And the financiers behind the British side of the war were the European banking families. And they were funding the troops. They were funding the weaponry. They were funding everything that allowed for that war to happen. But then we exit the 1812 war. We implement our first central bank. That first central bank was funded 70% by European banking families. 70%, 70. So they immediately run the money. Andrew Jackson comes in the 30s and abolishes it. And the second one that we had tried abolishes it, saying this is the most un-American thing possible. This is how we continue to hand ourselves back to the British. But the British switched gears. Rothschilds is a great example. They sent in a man by the name of Belmont to America in 1837, the year after that, to start buying up infrastructure, railroads, businesses, banking shares. And we see this Gilded Age come up of individuals that moved in from Germany and moved in from Britain and moved in from Spain. And you find these Rockefellers and Carnegies and Barons and Rothschilds and Rockefellers all sourcing from the same place, running our country. And they run our country to the point where in 1990 or 1895, we go through another huge crash. And by 1896, I think it was February 1896, the Rothschilds and JP Morgan bail out America. $65 million worth of gold bailed out America. We were going to go insolvent and they bailed us out. What does that mean? What quid pro quo was a part of that? And then you only have to go a decade into the future. We have another state bank panic. And then JP Morgan, the Rockefellers get together at Jekyll Island with this senator named Nelson Aldrich, who gets a plan on how to create the Federal Reserve. He claims it's his idea, says the meeting never happened. We don't find out the meeting ever happened for about another decade and a half. And then we get the central bank that's operated by European banking families that orchestrate its creation. And where does that money flow to? Well, for example, the Federal Reserve hasn't flowed any money in the last 3 years. The Federal Reserve actually has been losing money in the last 3 years. Billions of dollars. It's about $160 billion they've lost in the last 3 years. And that money normally is turned over to the Treasury. So our country, Freudian slip, our country is suffering from these Federal Reserve banks. The rate manipulation they use is what caused the Great Depression in the first place. The rate manipulation is what caused the great era of cheap money post 2008 into COVID. And their involvement in our economy has been nothing but detrimental. You can look at a lot of economists who've already deep dived these things. You can read books like 1929 and see it laid out page by page, source by source. And then you implement the fact that our country, intelligence-wise, is more than likely under the control of foreign intelligence agencies that base out of Europe and European allies. It's between the intelligence and the finance and the media. We're all under some kind of control, and that control isn't domestic. That control is definitely overseas, and it's where the money comes from, and it's where the intelligence is based out of, and it's why the people like the Epsteins and the Epstein list are so heavily protected, because I believe they're all part of that system. Do you know a family's name that was mentioned 12,000 times in the Epstein files, but has not seen a single headline in mass media? You can go right now, the Epstein library, put in Rothschild. You're going to see 12,000 plus hits. Lynn Forrester Rothschild, Edie Rothschild, Edmund the Rothschilds, Paris Bank. You're going to see it everywhere. Lynn Forrester is the person that got Epstein connected to Clinton, got him connected to Trump, got him connected to Prince Andrew, got him connected to all of these individuals that we now know are devilishly corrupted. Les Wexner got him connected to him. And it was a connection brought by a Rothschild. Why is no one talking about that? Why is it still deemed some little right-wing weird conspiracy theory? Why is it still called antiseptic if I'm looking into a family that clearly has had just devious amounts of control over our country for the past 150 years, 180 years? And there's not even an article. There's not even a headline. By the way, you guys know who Robert Maxwell is, right? And we'll get back to finance. You guys know Robert Maxwell. That's Ghislaine Maxwell's father.
Textbooks.
Gotcha.
Ghislaine Maxwell's father, right? Ghislaine Maxwell's, that's a perfect segue. So Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert, came to America, to New York City, after the purchase of Macmillan Inc. Macmillan Inc. is the parent company of McGraw-Hill. Do you know who funded that purchase and sent Robert Maxwell from Britain to New York City?
Tell us.
The Rothschild family in 1988. So the Rothschild family is the one bringing in the father of the child sex trafficking leader, the madame of the entire thing. And a lot of people think that Jeffrey Epstein is in the Ghislaine Maxwell files. A lot of people think Ghislaine was really running the show. And now she's in a little girls' camp in Texas having tea and doing yoga. And the Rothschilds were the people that got her connected to the people. The Rothschilds are the ones who financed her father to come into this country. And these are European banking families. And they're not the only one. There's multiple families. But they've funded multiple sides of wars. They funded both sides of the Napoleonic Wars. They profited off both sides of the War of 1812. They profited off both sides of the Great War, World War I. They profited heavily off of World War II and were able to create Israel. The Rothschilds were the ones that wanted Israel created. The Balfour Declaration in 1917 was written to a Rothschild. So it's all just connected. And again, back to the point, I think the Commonwealth of Europeans, they run America. The wealth that comes from those families still influences our country heavily.
A lot of people say they were funding both sides of the war, and people are like, okay, I get that, but could you explain to people why that then leads to a lot of control?
Sure. Well, when you say they fund both sides of the war, I'll bring up the Napoleonic War as a great example. So that happened in the late 1700s. So England is going against France. France has gone through its revolution. Napoleon Bonaparte steps up as the leader afterwards. And about 40 years earlier, Mayer de Rothschild, M-A-E-R de Rothschild, sent out his 5 sons to 5 different main points of Europe, one of which being England and one of which being Paris, France. So when we talk about they funded both sides of the war, okay, so if you have 2 family members who are the lead financiers of the country's banks, and those governments need money to fund war. This is why they always say every war is a banker's war, because you have to finance it. You have to finance it. In fact, one of the main reasons we needed to be bailed out in the 1890s is because we created our own form via greenbacks. Abraham Lincoln had created greenbacks to fund the war without the need for that. But long term, it hurt because we weren't able to throw the money onto a private entity like a bank. So when France loses that war, things like bonds for England go up, the stock market rips, and of course, England is now in debt to their private financer for however long that loan runs till it's paid off. So they win, they make money. Now, guess what? France has to be rebuilt. Infrastructure has to be reconstructed. Who finances that? Banks. And we're seeing it still today. Who's already the contracted individual and company to go and rebuild Ukraine? It's BlackRock. BlackRock already has a contract to rebuild Ukraine. You know, we're building a Freedom City, a beach resort town in Gaza. It's always to the benefit of the money holders because they get to fund the war, the missiles, the troops, everything about it. And then they also get to fund the rebuild and the reconstruction. And just like things like the post-World War I, Great Depression, they now get the opportunity upon a crash to go in and buy things at discount. So there's a lot of different angles in which the richest get the benefits from the win or the loss, sometimes both, of a war. And there's a lot of great videos that I would say that people should go watch on, like the banker war of World War I, that clearly show that people like JP Morgan, for example, funded the Allies, both Britain and America, and upon the end of the war had shifted over the debt of the war to Americans that they funded. So they fund the war, then they reallocate and repackage the debt into these bonds that are sold off to the American people. And so JP Morgan has basically guaranteed themselves that the people are going to pay him back win or loss from this war.
Ain't that something?
It's something, man. It's something. And it's all so that young men and women can go die for a banker or a politician's ideology.
Dude, that's the part of it that got really real for me for the past month, man. Because it's like I was seeing like these notes go out about like get ready. You know, they were talking about to the Marine Reserves, like have to be prepared. And I saw both sides of it. People were like, um, well, these people signed up for this and that, or whatever. But at the end of the day, like when you've got one person, right, who's making the decision to put your life on the line, right? That's a pretty crazy concept. And just to think back to the world wars where that happened at scale, right? Millions of people who died fighting for something like I can't even fathom. Like I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
Right.
I wouldn't.
If
You
they
know,
try to do a draft,
so
sorry to cut you off, Keith.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
You guys are in America, so you guys would know the pulse better than I would. If they attempted a draft, do you think there's like any chance that would happen?
Well, I mean, they said December it could be implemented at this point. I don't know. Frankly, I just don't think there's enough buy-in for the younger individual to get a mass amount of people that would actually do that. Um, I like, for example, I'm actually top of the list. I'm under the age of 40. I'm prior military.
Mm.
I'm top of the list. They literally want people who have prior training, A, and B, they want young, no crime report or no crime history people. I wouldn't go. I'd be a draft. In fact, I think it's funny when people say like Trump was a draft dodger. I'm like, dog, if there was a draft today, you'd fucking dodge it too. Like, of all things, let's put that one to the side. Like, I get it. I get it. I think there'd be a lot of people who would not be down for that. And again, I went to Afghanistan. I deployed. I did the thing. I protected the poppy fields. I was there, right? I don't see today the same media push around why we should even be in this war. There were a lot of ways that they convinced the mass that we were at that war for good reasons. But today, there's really not a leg to stand on because we've heard, oh, we're there for regime change. Oh, well, we killed their leader and we killed the new leader's father, wife, and kids in front of him, but he'll be fine. We killed their religious leader. They'll be fine. And then it was like, oh, there's going to be a social revolt. We're going to allow the people of Iran to take back their country. That didn't happen. And then it's, oh, we're going to destroy their nuclear facilities. Didn't we do that in June? And then it's now we're going to send in ground troops. Why? What's going to be the benefit of that? And then it's the straits close. And they're like, oh, they're going to open it. And then they don't. And Israel goes and bombs Lebanon. And then we claim Lebanon is included in the peace agreement, even though the peace agreement negotiated by the Pakistanis, Pakistanis come out and say Lebanon absolutely is included in it. Ceasefire shut off. They block it again. And what do we do to unblock it? We blockade their blockade. I mean, clip it here. This war is nowhere close to done. This will bleed through spring. They may come out and say we've won. They may come out and say we're drawing back. But the implications of what has happened, the cat is out of the bag. We are poking China right now. We're turning like Chinese boats. Are you kidding me? We're poking the China bear now? Like the Philippines have about 20 days left of fuel. I have two members of our team that I've paid their payroll now 6 years. I talk with them almost every day. Those are my boys. I love those families. And they're freaked out. They've been cut down to 4-day work weeks because they want less commuting. They're running out of fuel. But guess who stepped in to say, if America keeps their foot on the gas, on what's going on, who's going to step in and supply them oil? China and Russia, the two greatest enemies. We hate China and Russia. Well, why am I forced to now look at those two countries as the ones doing the moral thing? Like the longer you stare at the history of it, the longer you kind of realize that even though we've been persuaded that we are the great world's protector and security guard, it seems like more we're the great protector of the oil industry and the elites at the expense of brown people. And it sucks. It really sucks because we have people that are actually legitimately dying and we do not care because they don't have the same colored skin, don't speak the same language, or don't share the same religion. And is whack, especially when you get to the religion side, because we're literally talking about we believe in a God. We believe we were created. We believe somebody put this all here. And you think one of your gods said, go bomb thy neighbor for your land? I haven't found a single verse about that.
I'm about to definitely have some thoughts on that.
Please,
Real quick, I do want to remind everyone that we are giving away a free Pro Pass to Bitcoin 2026. You can find the link in the description of this video and in the chat. Be sure to sign up for this because at the end of the stream, we're going to announce the winner. And by the way, this is all being done in collaboration with Mangrove, which is a firm that basically allows you to trade without having to be to trade algorithmically without having to be a developer. They give you the tools to be able to make that happen. But
awesome.
To what you were just saying there.
By the way, just for your plug, only 58 entries on that right now.
Yeah.
There's a good chance at winning for somebody who has not signed up yet.
And it's actually way smaller than you think. That's how many entries. There's only 16 people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. Dude, if you're not entering that just for the sake of being able to give that ticket to someone you know and love, come on now.
Exactly. So this idea in really watching some Professor Zhang, he's super controversial right now. Oh my goodness.
The Chinese op. Yeah, I know who Professor Zhang is.
He made me really start to think about this, and it started to hit me, man. Another thing of like, there's these religions around the world that to this day, right, are basically at the forefront of some of the most violent stuff that we've ever seen. And it's just like, how on earth are we using religion as a way to justify the murder of people, of innocent people at that? It's crazy to see that happening. And it's always happening. And that's the thing that keeps me thinking of like, okay, so the thing was Iran is like a radical state full of radical people. And yet at the very beginning of the war, there was like all of these people like putting their hands on Trump, right? It was like the preying on Trump kind of thing. And so if the US tries to go to a ground invasion in Iran, you've got a 90 million person country with potentially a few million people that are a part of their military that are ready to fight you. We don't have even that many types of people that are actually ready to go inside the military. Plus, we're going somewhere else. We're on an expedition to go over there. That's not defending your homeland. Yeah, if someone pulls up over here, Zach, okay, cool. Like,
different.
All right.
Right.
I'm ready to go.
Sign me up. Get me in. Yeah, 100%. I hear you there.
But that's not what's happening. And so the will, both of this idea that there's people there that are of the faith, of Shia faith, where their whole thing is to die for their religion.
It's one of the greatest honors in their religion.
And you're going in and invading. And so now it starts to make sense why you might start to see some of the religious rhetoric in the United States start to amp up, because how else do you rally people? You rally people through the Christian faith. This is God's will, right? It's kind of what Professor Zhang kind of made me think about. And it's just a fascinating concept that that's really what is happening right now. You know?
Amen. And listen,
Yes.
as a I almost don't even use the word Christian anymore. I try to follow what Christ did. I try to do what he talked about. I try to live like he lived. Like, he's a great teacher. I believe he is king, he is God, but all that to the side, if you just read the biblical character, like just read Matthew, right? And you walk down, okay, what this man stood for, what he was about, what Christianity is based off of. Our country's doing the exact opposite of all of it. We're not loving our neighbor. We're bombing our neighbor. We're not providing kindness and love and compassion to those that are different than us. Because Jesus spent the entire time talking to people that were different than him, that believed different things than he believed. Subjugating women. The longest conversation in the Bible Jesus had was with the woman at the well. The only people who stayed with him for his crucifixion were the women, Mary and Mary. The people that found him when he came out of the tomb, found the tomb empty, were the women. It's just so quirky the way that we absolutely, like you said, we use religion to go to a war utilizing religion that wants nothing to do with death and only to do with loving our neighbor. But yet you have so many different Christian nationalists in America that are bleeding other countries dry for their money and their people based off a book that they probably haven't even read, to be quite honest with you. They just go on Sunday and that's the deal. No judgment, but like you can't agree with geopolitical movements with a religious base and agree with it. Meanwhile, you don't even understand what religious base it's standing off of and understanding how different it is from what the actual book says.
We played this clip, I think it was 2 days ago, of Trump being asked about his favorite Bible verse.
Oh my God. He's like, and I'll tell you later. Yeah, it's too personal. It's too personal. Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, man.
Galatians 3:9. We're all the same under Christ, Jew and Gentile. Quote that one.
Love it, man. Well, we're coming up on our time here with Zach. So if you're open to it, we do a game where we call it the one word game, where I'm going to throw a word at you and you tell me the first word that comes to mind.
Sick. It's like therapy. Let's do it.
Sweet. Do you have the list, Keith? We'll go back and forth.
I don't have the list, but we could do the list from the last time.
It's on Slack.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll take the first few, and then
God, who is that?
That's producer Sharp in the background.
Oh my God. I thought God was getting in on our conversations. Like, I rock with this guy.
Well, I had the same feeling the first time that we had the producer in the back too. I was like,
I love it.
But okay, I'll start. So Bitcoin,
Future.
XRP,
Freaky.
gold,
Beautiful.
Trump,
Beautiful.
Putin,
Misunderstood.
petrodollar,
Dying.
TikTok.
Fuck them.
Okay, we got to provide a little more context there. So actually, Zach's account got taken down today from TikTok, so that's very timely. Sorry to poke that one.
It's good.
AI,
Mysterious.
Keith, do you have the list now?
I don't. Sam Altman.
Death Row.
Snap.
College. Did I ask that already? College.
Useless. Yeah, I mean, to put a caveat on it, I mean, very specific jobs, probably still a lot of usage. If someone's doing surgery on my brain, I want them to have a piece of paper in a frame.
Fair. Larry Fink.
Under discussed.
Okay. Next episode when he comes back, we'll have to discuss.
We're going to get Larry?
No, we're going to get you to talk about Larry.
Right.
Larry Fink. Sorry, I asked that. Canada.
French.
America.
Need to start thinking French thoughts.
Okay. Kevin Warsh.
Corrupt.
Do you have any more, Keith?
No.
That was a
I
good
got
guess.
one. I got one.
Okay, go.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Pedophile.
Dang.
That's crazy. Okay. Okay. Well, that was great. Appreciate you playing that game with us, Zach. Did you have anything else, Keith?
No, man. Obviously, as always, a huge pleasure to chat.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. And everybody go show Zach some love. His YouTube channel is the first link in the description box down below. So go over there, go to his channel. He posts very consistently great content, longer form content. He's massive on short form, so definitely follow him there. But he goes far more in depth over on his YouTube channel. So go show him some love there. If you like our show, you'll absolutely love what they're doing over there. So go show them some love. Click that subscribe button, smash it, turn on the notifications like this, turn them on. There we go. There you go. So go ahead and do that. Show him some love. We'll definitely have him on again in the future when we can get some of his time. Thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate you, dude.
Dudes, thank you for creating the space. Thanks for having me on. And thank you to anybody who is listening to YouTube because they're actually trying to get ahead of their finances and stay in tune with what's going on. So big shout out to your audience.
Appreciate you, man. Awesome. Anything else, Keith?
Absolutely. No, man. Keep absolutely crushing it, man.
I'm here, dog.
Yes, sir.
Later, Zach. Have a great day.
Appreciate y'all.
Cheers. All right.
Yep. So just so you guys know, you'll have to hit that leave button. Did you see him? Is he still here?
I am.
Yeah, he is. I
Okay,
don't know if
cool.
he's froze.
Yeah, it looked pretty frozen.
So yeah, on the Riverside, just hit the leave button and then you'll be good to go.
Oh, do I got to hit leave for the recording to start? Stop.
So we'll keep going on after with the chat. But yeah, whenever you're good to go, just hit the leave and you're good.
Got it. See you guys.
Later,
All
Zach.
right,
Have a
man.
great day. Also, I
So-
want to, sorry, Keith,
ahead.
before we move on, sorry to cut you off, but I want to give shout out to Carlton Way. He did a super chat, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. And
Yeah.
saw it earlier. I just didn't want to stop the flow of conversation, so we really appreciate that tremendously. Thank you for doing so.
Huge thanks to you, Carlton Way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He froze
So-
like the cat.
So, yeah. So stick around, y'all, because we're gonna be announcing the winner to this giveaway. So
Yeah, guys, enter that thing. It's crazy. You have such a great chance of winning.
it's a pro pass. It's worth $1,500, guys, for free.
Wild.
Somebody's about to get it for free. There's only like 20 people in here. Come on. So, with all of that being said, we can move into the news. Unless you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. I think we went a bunch of different directions. And that's also the beauty of when you have on recurring guests, right? Like, you don't have to do as much of the formalities, right? You can kind of get into it, let it free flow. And I'm very excited to get the show to that point. But for each person, you can't just jump there, right? So like, we were able to have this back and forth with Zach. And he did a great job because he's so easy to talk to before. But that's what I'm super excited to get this show to a place where we can do that very consistently.
Big herd. Yeah, man, that's true. Yeah, both him just being cool makes it easy, but but also, yeah, man, having that prior context. Appreciate you guys for showing that love to Zach as well. First piece of news today: the Pentagon apparently yesterday started approaching automakers and other manufacturers to boost weapons production in the United States. Oh, well, wait a minute. General Electric Company, as well as Ford Motor Company, GM.
Ford.
So, yeah, senior U.S. defense officials have held talks about producing weapons and other military supplies with top executives of companies, including the ones we just mentioned. The Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday, citing people familiar with these discussions. So, the preliminary and wide-ranging talks, which started before the war in Iran, come as the Trump administration wants automakers and other American manufacturers to play a larger role in weapons production. What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
I feel like that's not very surprising, is it?
No, it's not.
Well, especially since that, like, if we're entering this time of a consistent conflict, aren't you guys incredibly reliant on external places to be doing the things that you're threatening you'll do?
As far as like manufacturing,
Mhm.
correct. And even with manufacturing, the raw materials, China has all the rare earths. Like, so that's another big thing that's coming up around this is like, okay, so you guys are going to go to war with everybody, but you don't have the rare earths. China does. So who are you going to war with? You're going to war with China? Like, good luck. So, but yeah, we've seen America take both the initiative to try to increase the domestic rare earth production and finding and mining, as well as now this manufacturing push, which both of these things have been being worked on for the past few years. And this really reminds me of the fact that, Trump started asking for like a $1.5 trillion or like another $1 trillion in defense, like I think it was like January, like December. It was like, what's that all about? Why are you asking for a larger defense budget? And then you fast forward a couple months and, here we are. And things start to make a little bit more sense. In fact, that moves us directly into our second news piece, which is that the Pentagon is ramping up plans for military operation in Cuba. Okay. So the U.S. is potentially going to invade Cuba here in a second, which we can't be too surprised by. We have seen the United States essentially in a roundabout way, create a blockade on Cuba, essentially cutting them off from their energy through taking Venezuela offline for Cuba as one of their main sources of oil. And so here we are, getting ready to potentially invade Cuba. Let's see how many times people voted for that expedition. But yeah, so here we are.
Can Americans go to Cuba?
I think you can go. Yeah, you can
You
go.
can now?
You can't bring anything back.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you bring something back, you might go to jail.
Because for a long time, Cuba was a very hot travel destination for Canadians. I'm sure it still is, but a big reason was because the Americans couldn't go there.
Word.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's
That
been an embargo and whatnot, and so you couldn't do trade. You can't do trade with them essentially. There was this article that my mentor showed me a few years ago of like how Cuba's going to be like this incredible place once, I guess, whatever's about to happen is about to happen. Is kind of they were realizing that the embargo was going to be lifted in some way, and when that happens, right, Cuba's going to be like this. It's going to be like Florida. You know what I mean? It's going to be like this incredible vacation spot. Well, Florida used to really be. Maybe it was
mm,
better to look at it that way, like early Miami days. Imagine that.
got it.
But here we are. So that's going on. You need a visa to go to Cuba. Yeah. So next piece that we had was a company today. This is wild, y'all. Has changed their name to include AI in it, and the stock pumped by 330%.
Another one.
Another one,
This is
ladies and
not
gentlemen.
real. This isn't satire. Sorry,
No,
this
this
isn't
yeah.
satire.
I had to double check. This is real.
Bro,
Myesium. Um,
what do they do?
I have to remember. Yeah, let's see real quick. They are. Let's see what CNBC said. It's a penny stock. Okay. Same ticker. They'll keep the same ticker.
Memes and markets AI.
So, amid a concentration on integrating AI into its platforms like Picture Party and Dat Chat, Mize to manage personal media in a way that adapts to users' preferences while also maintaining privacy. The new name identifies our core AI-based technology that secures our multi-tiered social media ecosystem. I guess it's like a social media company.
I'm curious to see how this nonsense spills over into crypto because there's a lot of AI focused projects, and it's like I would argue that they're closer to AI than this crap.
100%. This past cycle, I was very bent on the idea that AI crypto would be what gaming or metaverse crypto was in the
Previous
previous
cycle.
cycle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that push was there, and there's no reason why that couldn't still happen, especially if things
Yeah.
like this are taking place. I feel like if you think about this logically, the chances of survival in like a post AI world, I would say they're more on these crypto projects than these companies attempting to do this pivot. And what you're seeing with a lot of these like crypto AI projects they're valued at, some of them are valued at like 1 or 2 million. And then you're seeing this stuff pop up. And you're like,
Facts.
there's no chance that will ever be successful. If we're chasing sheer risk, then I'd rather go there. I just think it's a matter of time until people see that. So,
I think that's a super fair point.
so we'll see.
Yeah. Because there's real technologies and stuff. We'll see Jason Calacanis' project probably catch a bid.
Tau.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been pushing that hard. I think he saw what all the guys did with Zcash, and he's like, I'm gonna do this. But yeah, that's something that's right now with all the AI hype, crypto's become like the ugly duckling. But I think that if anything, the AI stuff makes me more interested in crypto because a lot of the core problems, as the chat addressed earlier, was a lot of it is the ease of use, the UI UX, the experiences that can be created from it. And a lot of that was because you couldn't pull top coding talent away from these massive companies because they had an unlimited war chest. Right. So like all the top people in tech were in these very like concentrated silos because they had all the money. They had all the VC funding, all this stuff. And also there was like the risk associated with there's not rules to the road. I don't want my company that I'm betting my whole future on to get taken down. So I think that can all change so unbelievably rapidly. Like I'm sure there's gonna be some wild experiences coming to crypto pretty soon.
Totally, man. Um, so let me go ahead and pull up this next piece, which is about one of our favorite companies, probably your favorite company, Ben,
Who is this?
Ticketmaster.
Oh, screw those guys, man.
So a federal jury just found Live Nation has operated as a monopoly
No
and broken
shit.
antitrust rules. Potential remedy is divestiture of Ticketmaster. The argument is Live Nation forces venues to use its ticketing service or else lose concert tours. So, Ticketing Cash Ticketing is a cash cow, while only 12% of their total sales is 37% of their operating profits. So, anyways, this company has continued to do really, really tough things to the market, right?
Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it feeds into so many things that I will be so excited when that all crumbles, right? Because like they're usually pretty connected to who owns the rights to like the artists and the IPs that they build around that, and so the interconnectivity of all of these things. Because you could say like, oh, well, why don't they go somewhere else? It's like, oh, because they have the relationship with the venues, and then they have the relationship with the artists. So like they bring the talent. You know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, it is pretty dang insane, and I hope that Web3 tech, because sometimes what takes out someone who's just gotten so greedy is a tech that undermines their entire business model that was created because they were so predatory. Right. And so I feel like
Say
that's
that
going to
again.
happen. Pardon?
Can you say that again?
So if so many sectors across the internet right now, they're going to crumble because they were assholes. Right. And so then eventually the assholeness is where the opportunities are for the up and coming people. Right. And now with so many people having these tools in their hands to go build experiences, before you couldn't do it because you couldn't make something good enough for enough people to try for it to ever get that flywheel effect going and become mainstream. Couldn't reach a critical mass. Now, with all the anti-establishment shit, I think it can. Right? Like all these different things. Of course, it'll be slow and it will start, but it'll be from someone who like wants to ride the positive wave of being counter that. Do you get what I'm saying?
The total addressable asshole.
That's great. Coin it.
So, moving forward here, we've got a piece that I already talked about, actually. So, we had that thing about the US. Some Congress or person in the House was like, hey, let's think about putting age verification on operating systems. So, that's something that's floating around. And in fact, I've got something that I want us to react to. We're moving into the reactions.
To memes?
Yep, we're going into the memes.
I like memes.
Good morning, tax cattle. Starting in 2026, all new cars in the US will track your eye movements, face, head position, attention, drowsiness, and behavior to decide whether you're fit to drive. Don't worry, it's for your safety, said Jason Bassler. So this is real, which I had not heard about, but federal surveillance tech becomes mandatory in new cars by 2027.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a section in the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act in the United States called Section 24220, which forces all passenger vehicles to include advanced impaired driving prevention technology.
Wow.
Never heard of that. So this is wild. And there's a lot of people that are speaking out against this because of the idea that, well, where's like who's getting this, the data that's coming from this? uh what exactly is this all about? Also, this idea is like, well, this is going to make vehicles cost a little bit more, right? Like that, if you're forcing a company to do this, well, they're going to have to pay to build this technology that makes it possible.
I think
So
it'll
you're
just
going to have to pay
result
for
in
that.
in less people owning cars, period.
That's a crazy statement. I feel like a car is in the United States and in Canada, I imagine too, would be pretty, what's it called, like you can't really go without it.
Yes, because there's not self-driving options that are readily available.
So you're saying that it will lead to a higher demand for self-driving
Well, if
vehicles
people are
then?
going to say, if I have to buy this car, it's going to be more expensive and they're going to watch everything that I do, what's the point in owning the car? I'll just use the self-driving option.
Oh, you're saying like the Waymo, instead of owning it, you would use the service for it.
Well, yes. Or like, let's say the Tesla fleet that they're saying they're going to roll out where every Tesla can basically become a self-driving taxi that you let out and go do its thing during the day, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like less and less people would be like, okay, I can't justify owning a car, especially not with all of this plus, 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 plus. That's down the road, and I'm hopeful that doesn't become a reality. But the message is strong.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
happy.
So the car manufacturers also were like, bro, like we don't have the technology for that. So how are we supposed to just be mandated to put this in the car? So automakers opposed the mandate, citing technical readiness concerns and sales impact fears. Car manufacturers argue the technology remains unreliable, warning of false positives that could strand drivers. They're concerned about customer backlash and potential sales declines as buyers seek older, unmonitored vehicles.
Yeah, someone said, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just say classics could catch a major bid.
Yeah. How are you now? Says that as well.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So that's an interesting thought. But dang, that's wild.
Hmm.
So yeah, so my also thing is like, yeah, so you're gonna get this information, then what's the car gonna do? Like what's the mandate on what the car does
To
with
drive you
that?
to the police station.
Yeah, like like what the heck, bro? And the other thing is like, so a lot of cars today already have a lot of tech where they're taking in a lot of data about your driving patterns. And the
Oh,
whole thing is that they're sending this information to insurance companies.
for sure.
And that's how these insurance companies come up with your rates, right? They've got the whole I've talked about this a million times, and people are like, you don't know what you're talking about. The actuarians who essentially are responsible for using math and data to come
Hmm.
up with the prices for how much to charge you for your insurance. And so if they're now taking all of this data in, well, where is this data being stored? Who's getting it? Why are they getting it? Is this being held against me? Stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of questions yet to be answered.
So on top of that, as we mentioned, the EU actually legitimately has launched their age verification app. So we've kind of already reacted to that. And then another thing that happened yesterday that people have been talking about, I haven't seen it like in official news, but I think it's in the app world news. Cal AI, one of the larger iOS apps, young guy out of the University of Miami, actually go Canes, that created this app. Apparently, it got banned from the App Store. And Marshall here has said that some random dude has a perfect clone of it that's gaining 3 reviews every minute. Can you explain some of the significance of the situation, Ben, and what's really going on here?
Yeah, for sure. So Kali I was really the face for this whole push for everyone to build apps, right? A lot of people had never even thought of software as a business opportunity. Like obviously many have, but not like this. Like this totally changed it because they allegedly built the whole thing with AI. Like that was the whole thing. And then these kids who were like 19 to 20 something got really, really rich really, really fast. So they became the face for this movement. They really created the whole like consumer app Twitter that we reference sometimes. And the like that just became absolute debauchery there because everyone was just copying everyone. It was a shit show. The ethics there were non-existent. Still to this day, there's a lot of that stuff, and so it became such a Wild West situation. There was so much money being thrown around where Apple really holds the keys to the whole thing because you're selling on their platform. And a lot of people have no idea of this, but whenever I process a transaction on the App Store, Apple takes a 30% tax for my ability to sell through their platform. And so there was a lawsuit, a big one. I believe it was between Epic Games and Apple where they went at it because Epic is huge and they were trying to process transactions off of the Apple platform to avoid that tax because 30% is absolutely massive. And so I believe they got taken down, Epic did, or whatever their biggest game whatever. And then there was a court battle that went back and forth over that. And so this latest one is they cracked down on Cal AI because they tried to put in a paywall that basically avoids it going through Apple's payment processors essentially to avoid that tax. And so it was basically like I think a big message to that entire community. Like I think that's really all that it was. I'm sure they'll be back pretty soon. The app is still functional on my phone because I have it, but you cannot find it on the App Store. At least you couldn't yesterday.
Yeah. I saw someone saying exactly what you were saying to me yesterday. I was like, well, now the whole app world knows, right? Exactly, not to do this.
Yes, it was
One,
basically them saying like we're still in charge here. Don't forget your place.
yeah, you said I am the captain.
Yeah, don't forget it. Because that's just the way that it is. They have a ton of power over that. Why don't you get the Trump? Um, yeah, so that's a massive issue because they were making, or that app is making millions of dollars per month, but they were also recently acquired too. So there's some
Mhm,
people who were
exactly.
saying like, was this on purpose? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, that's really tough. If you just acquired a company and then it gets cut off the app store, dude, that's rough, bro.
100%.
And you were talking about too the counter arguments. All of this is like, why would Apple do this? Like this app is making so much money, and like in the Twitter world, yeah, like this is like the number one app in the consumer space. But when you really zoom back out and you look at the total revenues, the company's probably making somewhere around 50 million a year. And I looked at the revenues from Apple; they're making like $10 billion
Yeah.
a year
It's
off
so
of their apps.
unbelievably insignificant. Right. I'm not discrediting the fact that what they achieved is a big deal.
Oh yeah,
And that's a ton of money on for a small amount of people to split. That's a ton of money. But for Apple, like they're so big, it's hard to even conceptualize how big they are.
exactly,
So if you're breaking their rules, this is nothing. This is a negative price to pay, right?
for sure.
Because even now, right, the work is now just flowing to the other person who copied them, so they're not even really losing money.
Facts, right? That fast, it would definitely be just flowing to the next app.
Yeah.
Oof. That's crazy.
There's so many copycats. That's one of my biggest frustrations within the app game is that you can come up with your entire like own novel concept, and they literally brag about it on app Twitter where they're like, all you have to do is clone this app, and then it's like, yo, that's crazy. Like you spend all this time and money coming up with something novel, and then these people brag about stealing it from you. That's why I'm really not vocal in the community. It's a pretty shit community.
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's true. um, the next piece that I had to get some reactions to was this guy getting some haircut advice, some feedback from ChatGPT.
Nice.
This guy said, "Hey, so I'm getting ready to leave for a date in an hour, and I'm really excited because I got a haircut today. How does it look?" ChatGPT said, "It looks solid,
Sensible.
clean, sharp, intentional. The short, slightly spiked texture on top gives it energy, while the tighter sides keep it neat and put together. It strikes a nice balance between polished and edgy, which is a good vibe for a date. If anything, it gives off, I made an effort, but didn't overthink it, which is exactly what you want. Just make sure the rest of your look matches that level, your shirt, your shoes, and you're in a strong position, dude. You're good to go." So I thought that was pretty funny.
His hair kind of looks like a wet tennis ball.
That's a really good I like that. I like that. And a quick little meme from the Calia situation actually was this guy. He basically was pointing out that Calia was doing this a couple of days before this they got taken off the App Store. And so he was like, payment sheets have been ripping lately, which I guess is like this pop-up thing that allows you to once again bypass the App Store's payments. And the average revenue per user with Stripe is much higher because of less fees, higher friction cancellation, which is actually a crazy statement too. They're basically saying it's just harder for you to cancel as well.
Well, that's a massive thing across all software.
Uh-huh.
Like there are full-time engineers that their sole job is to make it hard for you to cancel.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So he said, if you're building an app look into using only set clients of Superwall have access. So basically, Superwall is the company that's making that possible. And then this dude said, didn't think Cal AI would get taken off App Store because of this tweet. So giving himself some extra credit for getting Cal AI taken off the App Store. Moving forward, Barefoot Student said that college tuition has increased 914% since 1983 per CNBC.
Wow.
Clarence Thomas, the tank engine, said, that's actually crazy. Clarence Thomas, the tank engine, with Thomas the train, that's crazy. But anyways, college degrees have become 914% more valuable since 1983, right? What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
I've been anti-college for a very long time. And that's someone who has a college degree. I just saw that I was getting absolutely rinsed on the subject material. Yes, the experience was great. I met a lot of people. The networking part was awesome. And it gave me a lot of free time to build my businesses. But for all the people that was their main thing, I'm like, y'all are getting rinsed.
Crazy, man. Yep, no doubt about it. The conversation with Emmett yesterday was really cool to hear him think about that for the young kids that are playing ball and stuff. It's like the value of the whole thing is the network at the very minimum. And so has the network of these colleges increased by 918%, right? The value of that network per se, like probably not. So that's another thing. It's just like, what are you actually paying for is what you really have to start asking yourself. And if it's a piece of paper, then that's kind of obviously not a good way to spend money right now.
Oh, completely.
Moving forward, we had tax day in the United States yesterday, so quite a lot of rhetoric around that. Joom said, the voting age is 18, right? So why are we taxing 15 to 17-year-olds at work? Isn't that the very definition of taxation without representation?
That's a decent thought.
I was like, hey, you might have something going on there. because honestly, hadn't thought about it, but obviously, there's going to be ways that if you could just have all people that are underage, like tax free, then a lot of income would go to those people essentially, right? Like you would just pay your kid a bunch of money, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you'd pay no taxes.
Yeah, it's crazy to even think about. But Sarah has a point on our college conversation.
Mhm.
Of course, it's a loaded answer. That's why it's always case by case, right? And I'm just saying that the vast majority of people in there are getting incredibly basic degrees. Like if you just do the numbers. Like, I remember in my first year business program, we had this class where everybody who was in business like had to take the class, and it was like a 20% of the whole school. So if you do the math on how much money the school is getting from just us in the business program, and we learned nothing of substance, that's mass robbery. So yeah, of course, if it's something that you actually need the degree, then it can make total sense. I just think a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, and then that idea that it's also important to finish. Yeah, that's another interesting conversation there on its own.
Mhm.
I wasn't faced with the same type of a dilemma, but I'll tell you what, one of my best friends, he went for a year and he left and he was like, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. I'm going into crazy amounts of debt.
I
Like,
should have done that. I should have done that, but it was such a big deal for my dad, like that I finished school, so I did it for him basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't necessarily regret it because I met a lot of people, but it was a dumb decision knowing what I knew my life would be.
Right. And
But
that's the difference, right? It's like, do you have a clue? Because if you really know that this
I
isn't the
knew.
direction,
I knew the
then
whole
like
time. Like, even in high school, I was like, "I shouldn't be here." Like, I should be doing my own thing. I was doing it at the
Interesting.
time then, so I was like, "This is all so stupid." That's why I didn't give a shit about grades. Um,
Mhm,
then here, this is
mhm.
good. So what would it take for Ben and Keith to leave Canada and the US, and where would they go? Or will they get rich in politics and
Oh,
likes? Oh, I don't think
heck
we'll
no.
ever be in the political scene, at least I certainly won't. I would get
No,
torched.
no, no, no.
But, I actively would love to leave Canada. That's actually been my goal for a very long time. It's just the ability to afford to do so is not exactly cheap or easy. So I've been working to get enough money to settle my any sort of tax burden that I would have with Canada to leave, because you have to have a lot of stuff sorted out to be able to do that. So yeah, and I would go to the States unless, and if that became a shit show, I'd
Pull
go
up,
somewhere else.
pull
But
up.
I want to go to Florida essentially. What about you, Keith?
Flow rider. Yeah, man. The truth of the matter is, I would just want to have multiple passports. I would never renounce my U.S. citizenship, for instance.
Mm,
I wouldn't do that.
I would renounce my Canadian.
That's crazy. But it makes sense to, I mean, no offense. But I mean, from the things that you continue to tell me, I wouldn't feel
It's
too crazy about it.
it's a fantastic place to live, but it's just almost like the antithesis of everything that I represent as a human being.
Mm,
Like in terms of like economic, even like policy, and also like where the thought process is going. Like we're not an ambitious nation, and I really don't like that. I
mm,
hate being stagnant.
mm.
And if you do anything off the beaten path, you just get like so absurdly shit on. So yeah, I that's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause my thing about the US is this, guys. Like, it's kind of safe, right? And infrastructure wise, it's not that bad. It's crazy to say the US is safe. I know that's a crazy thing to say out
Hmm.
loud. but but I am a proponent of the idea of, look, like, oof, how do I say this? Look, guys, listen, let me say this properly. I would not want to be in a country that I would know that if I break a rule or if I get caught up in something, right, where someone else is breaking a rule and I'm trying to like defend myself or not die or whatever, and then I go to prison in some crazy third world country. You know what
Look,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Versus here, it's like there's a nice amount of infrastructure to where, like, if someone is messing with you, you know what I'm saying, you can kind of like take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is a very big deal
oh, it is.
because there's a lot of crazy people in the world.
So many, man. And this is a great point. So I've learned just not to care about politics and just do my own thing. Northern Ontario is beautiful. Most of Canada is beautiful. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So yeah, I love Canada a lot, even to this day. Like I don't. It's not that when I say this stuff, it's not that I like don't like the country or I'm not grateful for the place that I grew up in. I've just seen it change so dramatically, and it's just been shocking to me that everybody has just watched this kind of happen because we're so complacent. And so it's just Yeah, it's just very much not me. That's all that it is. If people like it here and they're happy here, fantastic. But I can't ignore the fact that I've just seen where I live erode. And a lot of it was like choice based.
And yeah, to finish the thoughts too on the US, because like I'm not just talking about like physical, like someone else harming me safety. There's also infrastructure, there's also
Mhm.
like redundancy in electricity, strong Wi-Fi, like all of these different kinds of things that just make it to where like it's kind of hard to get all of those things in one place. So Hong Kong came up from adaptive thinker, and so and you followed up with the exact thing that I think is super important. So Hong Kong was also very safe, never once felt in danger, and they used to have rule of law, right? And technically, you could kind of look at the U.S. right now and maybe think, kind of used to have some rule of law as well, but that's the other thing. It's like there's always usually something that's actually missing, whether it's a strong court system that allows you to defend yourself where you're not guilty first. You know what I'm saying? um, Strong infrastructure, roads, um, not crazy taxes, all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, yeah, it's really hard to think that the U.S. is somewhere that I would, once again, I would not probably renounce my citizenship. I love Brazil, and Southeast Asia also has a lot of really cool places, but
You
doesn't have
spent time in
all of
Brazil
those
before?
things. Yes, yeah, Brazil is fantastic, beautiful place, and
Sweet.
great culture. But
Any
yeah,
other memes, or should we get into the giveaway?
yeah, so just a couple more memes because in fact it's all aligned with this conversation. Well, first, this one from Sun Tzu, the guy who wrote The Art of War. It's not from him, but it's all right. So the Pentagon is reportedly planning for a potential Cuba operation. And then this guy said, Polling USA said, as Sun Tzu famously said, start as many wars as possible, spread your resources as thinly as you can, attack everyone all at once. Which I haven't even read the book, but I imagine that's the antithesis of what he says in the book. Moving forward, Greg said, it's tax day yesterday, right? IRS, you owe us taxes. Me, how much do I owe? IRS, you got to figure that out. Me, I can just pay what I want. IRS says, no, we know exactly how much you owe, but you have to guess the number too. I'm like, well, what if I guess wrong? IRS, jail. Happy tax day.
It is a
I,
pretty
I've,
wild system.
you say what? Say it again.
It's a pretty wild system. And I also think that it's so crazy how complicated it is.
Does that work the same way for you guys in Canada?
With what?
With the idea that like just that idea that like yeah you have to figure out how much you owe, and if you
Yeah,
don't pay it right then there's like legal penalties potentially,
totally. Yeah.
and
And
they know low key like like they get documents throughout the year and stuff.
yeah, they know, they definitely know, because especially with how regulated, like, well, I'm sure this is how it works in every country, but there's not that many banks, right? And so they all feed into one place. So it's
It's
very
true.
easy to tell where your money is going in and going out.
Mm.
I'm sure if like people are doing cash stuff, that's obviously impossible to track. But as the world evolves to be more and more, um, uh, more and more digitally, then that becomes harder and harder to do. But yeah, it works very similarly. I think that you guys, like the IRS, seems a lot more aggressive than what we have, the CRA here in Canada, but it's the same basic principle where it functions the same.
Yeah, so a lot of memes about this. Opens up TurboTax 5 minutes later. I'm imagining this is like American Revolution, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's hilarious.
so good.
And then there was another piece here. um Satya Nadella. So, a Microsoft event where Satya Nadella points at a slideshow that indicates Microsoft Edge is the number one browser to download Google Chrome. And someone made this image here. And so I
Why is
took
that a flex? Is that a joke?
it's a joke,
Yeah.
right? Because why would you flex that? But it, okay. So, Microsoft Edge, right? It comes downloaded on every Windows computer. It's the original browser, it's the default browser.
Mhm.
And what does everyone do? Anyone who's, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but like I'm not using Microsoft Edge, bro.
I've never even once used it.
So the first
Asip is using it. So we got one person using it.
the first second that I sit down and I grab a Microsoft computer, I'm going to download Chrome. That's the first action that I'm taking on a Microsoft computer. So I think that's pretty funny. The idea
That's
is
super funny.
first thing you do. So This guy was trying to figure out why people called World War One World War One. And so I'll play through this slideshow here. Why did they call it World War One? Did they already know there was going to be more? Actually, the name First World War only appeared in 1939 when the Second World War started. Before then, people just referred to it as the Great War. Wow, personally, I don't think there was anything great about it at all. And then the person responds and says, great doesn't necessarily mean good. Great in this case refers to the scale of the war. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of messed up that they called it that. And then the person responds and says, well, what would you have called it then? Something negative, like maybe the big bad war. Are you serious? The big bad war? That makes it sound like a fairy tale for children. And he's like, 4 billion people died, bro. It doesn't get much bigger and badder than that. It was like, bro, 40 million people died in the World War, like in World War One. Where on earth did you get those numbers from?
I made them up for
I made them up for
That's
dramatic
awesome.
effect.
That's a very unique content format.
Yeah, man.
We could totally milk something like
Cool.
that.
Yep.
That's good, man.
Yeah, that's the memes for today. I think we can go ahead and roll into the community section for today, which includes a giveaway that we're doing in collaboration with Mangrove.
Totally. Just want to touch this one thing first on the
Mhm.
Canada piece. So perhaps some of these policy changes could have been swayed from outside adversaries via social network manipulation or lobbying. I think there's a strong likelihood that that is the case. But if the people don't realize that's the place and you can't talk about it, the end result is the exact same. And it just feels like that's where we are socially. We're so radicalized that you can't have a normal conversation with people anymore. So that's really it. And I hope that changes. I really do. But yeah, I'll throw it over to you, Keith.
Well, yeah. So what I'll do here is I'll give you guys one last chance to join the giveaway. So
Last
this
chance.
is a $1,500 Bitcoin Pro Pass. It comes with food, coffee, all that. While you're there, the only thing you got to do is get yourself there, or like someone else said, like Zach said earlier, like give this to someone who can make it or who could be there. So we've got less than 30 people in the giveaway at this particular moment. I'm going to give you guys a second by going over some of the comments that we had from yesterday, and let you guys enter that while we do that. But after that, I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner.
Very excited.
So yesterday we had the chance to sit down with Emmett Smith and his son, EJ, talking about NIL, financial literacy, and the rise of gambling a little bit. So let's see some of the comments that we have from the chat. Lee Entertainment Channel 247 said, nah, bro, I really missed the live with the legendary Emmett Smith. Replay gang. Replay gang.
What's
What
up?
up, Lee? I don't
Appreciate
think I've
having you
seen
back.
you. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen you commenting before. So
Yeah, they've
what up?
commented before.
Word. How are you now? I believe you're with us right now, in
Yeah.
fact.
How are you now as a legend?
Now, this is a chat. Thank you guys for what you do. This one has it all: knowledge, wisdom, and just down to earth good people. Energy I resonate with. Let's go, man.
Appreciate that.
Michelle Greenwood, 5487. This is just an awesome conversation. I totally agree. Yep. The Rebel said, I can't believe I missed this, guys. Wow. A44QB23. It's the information age. This was actually a really interesting one.
Very
So
fair.
but let's talk about it. So it's the information age. There's no excuse for not knowing. Other demographics have a different relationship to money. I have never owned a pair of Jordans, but I've owned hundreds of shares of Nike stock. It's your responsibility, no one else's.
Yeah, the only piece I was touching was that the fact that it is the information age, like it's accessible. But if no one tells you that you can use it for that, then how do you know?
Yeah, I just think the context of the conversation is we're talking to Emmett Smith. And what that means is that we're talking about the 80s. We're talking about this like before this was the information age.
Totally. Yeah. How could he have pulled it?
So him taking the time and investing in himself to go and sit down with Michael Jordan, like that's how you get that much closer to that kind of information back then. And like who has access to that? You know what I mean?
No,
But
I totally
he knew
agree. I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I think the onus is on the individual to use the information in the information age, but I don't think there's enough people that are explaining that social media can even be used for that. Like I think for a lot of people, the concept of learning stuff on social media is foreign to them. Like they would never even like think of using it for that. It's purely an entertainment thing.
that.
So yeah, I think like I get the angle they're going, but I also think that it's not really considering the fact that social cues matter a lot too, right? Like all that.
It all just comes back down to exposure. Like I totally 100% agree. Like there's a ton of people who are not using this stuff to their advantage, right? We saw this very early, and it was like, well, this is the way to be able to get access to the stuff that our parents and their parents never had the ability to
Mhm.
do. So then it just comes down to exposure, right? Like, are you around people that are understanding that?
That are doing that.
You know what I'm saying? And so if not, then it becomes very difficult.
That's
But yeah.
that's why we started the show, realistically.
Yep.
And also an update on YouTube is you can now block shorts from
Oh,
like natively in there. You can change your settings, and then you can go to like cutoff point for shorts, and you can just make it 0 so that every time you try to go to it, it says you're not supposed to be watching shorts. You can still watch them, but you do get a thing.
yes. Yeah. So very cool. Cause that's actually a problem for me on YouTube, dude. Like a couple of my pages, because it's always the first thing. So when I log into some of them, sometimes they're juicy, they're good shorts. And I'm like, dang it. I'm getting
I,
sucked into YouTube shorts.
I hate short form content, man, but it's become just so popular.
Yep. 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 All right, folks. Let's get to it.
Let's get it.
We're about to give away a free pro pass to Bitcoin 2026 in collaboration with our partner here, Mangrove, who I had the pleasure of actually meeting in person. So huge shout out to Mangrove. These guys are building out a really cool ecosystem. I highly recommend that you check them out. And mangrove.ai is their website. It's a smarter, safer way to automate your trading. Check them out. They're super cool, and they're only just beginning to build out this ecosystem. Very nice people over there. And all right, so I've got 132 total entries, which is just the amount of entries. It's only 33 people that are in here, so you've got a really high chance of winning this. I'm about to go ahead and draw the winner now. All right, so drum roll, please. I'm drawing one winner.
Can we see your screen?
I can show you my screen, but I don't know if that's gonna like give their information away too. You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
So I don't want to expose somebody's information either. I'm gonna hit the draw button, and the winner is Tyler Cyani.
Tyler.
Are you in the chat with us, Tyler?
Tyler, are you here? Was that a thing they have to still be here to get it?
Not necessarily. I guess I should have said that. but
How long do they get the claim?
but we'll give them to the end of the day.
Okay. So 12 a.m.
And then we'll pass it on. Yeah, Tyler, you got super lucky here because the only thing it looks like you did was liked us on Facebook. So that's a really lucky draw, my guy. Let's see if Tyler is in the chat with us. And if not, I have your email, so I'll send you an email as well.
Cool.
And we'll make sure that you get
Congratulations, Tyler.
access.
That's freaking awesome. I hope you go, and I hope you document it and you get some good intel and you bring it back to the community.
Yeah, man. That would be super cool. That would be super cool if you update us ongoing, or if you give it to someone else, how that goes as well.
Mm-hmm. And thanks for facilitating this, Keith. This was
Well,
this is all Keith.
Well, yeah. Well, huge shout out to David over
David.
at Mangrove. We
Hey,
just
David.
sat
appreciate
down,
you.
had a chat. We got connected through a childhood friend of mine, and he was just a super cool guy. He was like, "Yeah, man, like happy to just figure out a way, you know, to
What a
do
legend.
something," and that was it. So
That's awesome. That's our first partnership, isn't it?
it is, man.
Wow.
It
Way
is.
to go. That's freaking awesome.
So, all right, folks. There's only a few other things that we need you to do. One of them is make sure that you hit that like button. Okay. And the second is to make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications because you only get notified when we go live. And the only other thing that I will ask from you is that if you're enjoying this, you gotta go to Spotify, give us a review. And if you've already given us a review, hit that follow button, guys. Hit that follow button on Spotify. As Ben said yesterday, they literally reached out to us and said, you guys are not getting as many follows as you have listeners. You're getting too many reviews for how many followers you got.
So they want you to hit the follow button.
So go ahead and follow us on Spotify. You can find the link to that in the description as well.
And you can find our official Memes and Markets playlist. That is a great listen. So that's also linked in the description box down below. So add that to your playlist over on Spotify, and you can jam with us. It's good stuff.
Get jammy with us. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be listening to that at the gym in like 30 minutes time.
Somebody asked you for your workout routine, Ben.
Now I used to work out so much more when I was like playing football and shortly after that. So I used to be like a 4 or 5 day a week. Sorry, 4 or 5 days a week. Yeah, that was appropriate. Like lift guy. Now I only lift 3 times a week, and I do full body every time.
Word.
What's your split?
My split is I get in there. I usually hit a good run before I work out, which is
How,
apparently not the right thing to do.
screw all that shit. How
But
long do you run?
I usually will hit a 5K
Every day?
on the treadmill. Yeah.
Dang, that's why you're so lean, bro. That's awesome.
And it's probably like 4 or 5 days a week, right? Because
That's quite a
sometimes
bit.
also uh I just get broken down. I'm like, all right, yeah, I can't do this today.
That's a fair amount of running.
Yeah. But it's funny, dude. You know what was made me mad is like as soon as I started running like that, I also started kind of like eating not as good. And
You
so
do get
I'm
way
like,
more hungry, man.
yeah, and that too. So it's just like I'm not really seeing the gains of the run. But at least now when I cut back on the food and the calories, I will be able to, you know what I'm saying, run 5K. Because last year, dude, no chance I was running a 5K at all.
So Theo said our tastes are mad normie, not jamming at all, respectfully. That's fair. Do your thing, man. So what's not normie then? I feel like Keith's taste is not very normie.
Mine was pretty weird. There's no way you've heard a lot of those songs on that playlist. So
yeah,
you actually need to take that back, Teo.
like, and even mine, like, there's frigging Northern Ireland rappers on there, and there's like things from pretty all over. I feel like they probably listened to a few songs that they recognized and were like, okay, there's no shot you went through every song on that thing.
Which plus those, you know, more recognizable things are at the top.
Yes.
So listen, you take that back.
Yeah, don't mess with Keith's music taste, man. That's something he holds dear.
Oh man. And I can see why you might think that. Yeah, no, yeah, give it a listen. Give it a listen. 5 miles in. Yeah, see, that's crazy for Everest 1,000. Like that's legit, man. I've only done that like 3 times in my life ever.
Yeah, I'm a big 5K guy as well. Like when I used to run a lot in high school and a bit in college, it was 5Ks every time. Because I like being able to do something aggressive for like a shorter period of time. Like I find it so frustrating when I have to lower my pace, which you'd have to do if you're going that far. You know what I'm saying?
I can't even imagine. Like Ari was on here talking about doing marathons. I'm like, dude, like I can't even fathom doing that. I hit like a 10K while I was in Bangkok. And I was like, dude, this took an hour for one. And like
An hour's crazy.
that was a 10K. I'm like, that's not even a fourth of you know what I'm saying? Like a marathon. Like, holy moly.
Yeah, when Ari was on here, he's like, do you want to do the marathon in New York or whatever? I was like, no.
I had a friend in Miami who would do that stuff, flying all over the place to these marathons. I'm like, brother, like, why do you do that to yourself?
So
Because it's actually kind of bad for you to a degree.
it can be.
Like,
If your body's not good, it exacerbates existing issues. But is this Tyler? Because they said that you said their last name right, so I would assume.
is that you, Tyler?
Is this you, Tyler?
Tyler, is it you?
Congratulations, Tyler.
He runs.
What's his profile picture?
After I
is that Charles?
Yeah, I guess it is Charles. Actually,
that's hilarious.
Registered under my name. Oh, okay, that's very sweet of him, I guess. Or I guess so that we would know or whatever because you're here. But yeah, I mean, so.
Yo, this is good. Challenge for Keith: run a 5K while streaming and talking. We could do a 5K stream.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick. Up there in Toronto.
Yeah, let's do. Oh, Toronto's actually got a great running scene because a lot of people started run clubs in cities. It's a big thing, especially here. So
it's funny. That's like, so there was some article I saw about that. That's like our new way of like dating.
Yeah. Well, because the dating apps are just so horrendous. But I will also say there'll probably be some better dating apps that come out because they're not shit just because it's tech. They're shit because they're owned by publicly traded companies. Right? Like we always villainize whatever is easy to do. So it's easy to say like, oh, dating apps bad. It's like, no, dating apps with that incentive structure is really the problem. About how and you could build in features to make it a lot better is what I'm going to say. I think people probably will.
Yeah, I think that idea that you have there is an interesting thought. Like I'm very curious to see how that plays out because the thing is yes, the public company is going to eat you, not necessarily with the money itself, but they're going to try to eat you through the market share. They're going to steal your features. They're going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they can't as much because if a feature that they have to put in will impact their bottom line, how do they justify that to shareholders?
They're just going to buy you. They're going to try to buy you.
Yes, that I can 100% agree with.
Okay.
But I just think that they'll spur up so fast that I think they're cooked. Like if you hold any of those shares, sell immediately. Because I think, in my opinion, not financial advice, but actually, I would love to know this too. What's your bench PR, Keith?
Oh, PR. It's funny. My PR was in high school.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Were you a lot heavier then?
Not even, dude. I don't know what it was, man. There was something they were feeding us, bro. I hit, what was it, dude? It was something, it was like 315.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's strong, dude.
So I was like on the leaderboard and stuff. And this is like a sports school, and I'm a non-sports player. So that was pretty hype at the time.
That's super. In high school, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were you weighing at that time?
I weigh 165 now. So
Wow.
probably even less.
That's remarkable. Good for you, buddy. Someone said, "Can you do a Toronto accent, Ben?"
Toronto.
Yo, fam, trust me, dog. You're two in your ends, fam. Don't cheese me. Men's are marved, yo. Let's go get some grub, yeah?
I was pulling up some of those memes after the show one day with Ben. I was like, do people really talk like this, Ben?
Some do. What I always wonder when people talk like that who previously didn't, what's their internal monologue? Do they talk to themselves like, yo, fam? I'm hard pressed to believe that because I love when I'm around someone who speaks with very like thick slang and tonality that's very specific to like whatever they watch a lot, and then I see them around their parents and they sound completely different. That's the best.
That's the test right there. How do you
Yeah.
talk to moms?
Like I got some buddies, like my buddy Tyler, who grew up in England, moved here young enough where he could drop the accent, but around home, hey mom, how you doing? Like
That's funny.
It's so good.
That's wild, bro. That's super wild. In the States, there's a lot of, I'm sure you guys have this too, a lot of Caribbean people. They're really good at like masking and putting on the regular people accent.
Yeah, that's one thing that's great about Canada is that we have everybody here. Like we have influences from all over the world, which is super cool. So yeah, I've heard so many different kinds of accents and like blends of English and that. You know what I mean? Super cool. But so RD said that their friend is building a dating app. Cool.
Word.
That's super cool. Keep us up to date with that.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
oh
Dooley.
yeah, Dooley, love that.
That's crazy to me. Is that?
It's crazy. I watched.
Does that make
this
you like
video.
an NPC?
No, so I watched this video because some dude, who, while he was in college, this was probably like a decade ago, but I just saw the video. It's like one of those viral videos that like pops back up now. And it probably even just now probably got traction even to some degree. It's like got millions of views of this guy doing an interview with a girl who doesn't have an internal monologue. And so he's just like, I don't understand this. Like, you have to explain this to me. And they talk for like 30 minutes. And it's a really cool interview because it's like she's basically saying she doesn't think in words. And that's really all it comes down to. Like, she thinks the same way, but she doesn't think in words.
What is she thinking? Pictures?
Like, basically, yeah. Like, basically, that's the answer.
Cool.
You just think in like scenarios and pictures and drawings in a way.
That's fascinating. I would love to talk to someone more in depth about that.
Yeah.
That's their experience, but that sounds like a crazy concept to me. But that's cool. I love that everyone's so different. So people teased me after 7 months in the UK that I had a British accent. Mate, yeah, that was more Australian, but it's impossible not to, man. I used to have a client in the UK, and I used to go see them every year for a week. And by the end of it, I was like talking a little bit like that. I would egg them on a bit, but like it's a thing.
I was one of these guys, man. Shout out to Kevin 24/7, man.
Kevin.
We went to get dinner once, and we were at this bar, and this dude sat down next to us, and we started chatting with him or whatever, and he had this really weird accent.
Okay.
It was like he was like it sounded like he was faking a British accent, basically.
No way.
Yes, and we were like, what is this dude on about?" Like both me and Kevin 24/7 and his wife were looking at each other like, "What is this? Like, what is this?" We both felt the same thing,
Wow.
and it just turned out that like he's from the United Kingdom, but he spent some time in New York in the United States, and so now he just has this like accent that sounds like he's faking a British accent.
Wow. That's so interesting.
I was like, that's freaking wild.
That's
bro.
super cool. Yeah, this one girl I know, she like split serious amounts of time between like England, America, and Ireland, or was it Scotland? Maybe it was Scotland. And so she has the most unique sounding accent I've ever heard in my life. Like I couldn't put my finger on it. I'm like, where are you from? And
Word.
she's like, oh, it's a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this. I was like, that's super cool.
Language. Linguaje.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, do you have anything else?
Nothing from me, man.
Sweet. Well, we appreciate all of y'all for tuning in, and congrats to Tyler again on the W.
Yes.
Keith has your email, so he'll be in touch with you to get that ticket in your hands. I really hope
Yes.
that you go, or whoever goes can report back to us and how it went, and we'd love to hear about everything that you learned, the people that you met, the things that you saw. I'd love to hear it all. So that's all from me, Keith.
That's it, folks. Huge thanks to y'all for being here. We appreciate you. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you don't miss us.
100%. And we will be live again next Tuesday. So turn on your notifications. And if for whatever reason YouTube doesn't send you one, you can reset that thing by turning them off, turning them back on. YouTube has been known to do that. So definitely go ahead and do that. And we'll be live same time every single week.
And we have a super sick guest this upcoming Tuesday as well. So tune in, folks. He's right at the pulse of all of the legal actions that are taking place in the AI space, as well as consumer products in general. And how many times you get to speak to a lawyer about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, super cool, especially as we've stressed that it's like crime season out there.
Crime season, bro.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Yeah, shout out to Sharp, producer Sharp in the background, and RD always holding down the chat. Without you, this show doesn't happen. So definitely continue to show them love in the chat, and then also all of you guys that contributed. It's so awesome to have you here with us. You guys make the show, so thank you so much for doing so. And enjoy your weekend. Have the best weekend ever. Can't wait to see all of you on Tuesday. And that's it from me.
Make today the best day of your life, folks.
That's it. Be the light that you want to see, and we will see all of you on Tuesday. Bye-bye. Come on. There we go. This thing's fighting me, man.